Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever signed. It's right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right.
I don't think I've ever said this before.
Okay, gang, lots going on. I mean, again, every time it's Tuesday, we have to ask ourselves, do we cover this story? Did we cover the story about the president being asked about J.D. Vance for 2028 and his answer within a half a second? No. Did we cover Musk being on the cover of Time magazine claiming the fact that he's the president, and we predicted this, I don't know how many months ago? Did we cover the fact that, all these other stories going on? This lady who was suing Uber for trying to get in the car because the guy said no to her because she weighed, 480 or 450?
Almost 500
suing
pounds.
500 pounds is now
Suing Lyft.
Charlemagne the God and their camp had to readjust the seats for her to fit in a couch. Okay, that's what they had to do. They're not saying no business. They're just saying we got to make some things moving around. Trump saying Hamas should free all the hostages by midday Saturday or let hell break out. Vinny said, what does that mean? We're going to see what that means today. Nancy Mace accuses men of rape and sexual assault on House floor. This one transgender congressman who was a man, became a woman, was introduced as a gentleman. And it was very interesting that we're going back to common sense and logic. Kanye West sells a $20 T-shirt with a swastika on it. When he does his ad for $8 million in Super Bowl, a lot of people are wondering, what's he doing? Is he dropping something? Is there a motive behind it? What's he trying to do with this, especially with this? His wife, Stephen A. Smith, when he came down to the Super Bowl, by the way, I don't know about you guys. To me, this was the most boring Super Bowl I've watched in a long time. The commercials sucked. The halftime show sucked. I understand there's a lot of Kendrick Lamar guys. I'm an old school Tupac guy. I'm a Biggie guy. I thought it was horrible. I couldn't listen to it. It was very unentertaining to me and underwhelming to me. However, the greatest female tennis player of all time showed up, Serena Williams, and she was dancing. And did you know I had no clue she used to date Drake? I don't know if you guys knew about it. I don't know if she was his ex. Did you know that or no?
Nobody cares.
I had no idea whether they dated or not. But Stephen A. Smith responded with a very interesting take, saying, he would divorce Serena for Super Bowl halftime show because she's saying that she's still trying to get back at her ex. I don't know what that's all about. I mean, it's culture. We'll talk about it. I know you're interested in is Hamas, but we have to talk culture sometimes.
It's true.
Next story here that we got outside of this is Trump's still obsessed about Canada being the 51st state. He's not fooling around with it. He was asked by Brett Perry. He says, no, I'm still talking about 51st state. Why are we giving him so much business? Trade war talks causing inflation to go up a point. Inflation is up 1%. And we're talking about from January to February, and Trump's being asked about this constantly. And he's doing his weaving. He's not doing the what's the other word? He says
It's called
he
the
says
weave.
I'm not what's the word when you're dodging answers to a question? You're dodging a question.
Bullets?
No, there's a different word for it.
Deflecting?
He says I'm weaving. I'm not. It's a different word, but I'll think about it. My vocabulary is not as intense as yours, but we'll figure it out.
Vernacular.
Yeah, Trump promises executive order against paper straws. Back to plastic. Bill Maher agrees with Trump that the Department of Education should be abolished. We'll cover that story as well. And we got a bunch of other stories. 65,000 workers have accepted Trump's buyout that they got 8 months to go and figure out a way to make it a free enterprise. Japan gives $1 trillion investment to the U.S. I have my own ideas why I think that is taking place. We got things to talk about with terrorists. We got things to talk about with whistleblower claiming that Governor Josh Shapiro ordered Trump's assassination. Maybe we'll go into that. Elon Musk claims FEMA sent $59 million to luxury New York City hotels for illegal immigrants, but City Hall says there's more to the story. And by the way, there's an update that just came out 10 minutes before we went live from FEMA. We'll report that here to you momentarily. Anthony Fauci under investigation by state's AG. Good. 85% Americans willing to raise taxes to save Social Security. And we got a few others. One of the stories that I definitely want to get into is Allstate saying California wildfires to bring $1.1 billion in losses to them. And then a couple other stories we'll get into. Having said that, we have the great Glenn Beck in the house. You know we love Glenn Beck. This is the only guy for me who I wouldn't miss his show. There's a lot of guys that had shows, and there's a lot of talented guys on TV, but I wouldn't miss a show. I would come home to make sure I watch his show was that good. And if I missed it, I would tune in on whatever YouTube stuff that I would get to watch him. And he's been on before. We've been spending a lot of time together. Seriously, really enjoyed this man a lot, so we'll get into it with stories. Gentlemen, for you, if you're married or you're dating a girl who watches the PBD podcast and loves valuetainment, by the way, I am being stopped right now more than ever before with ladies that watch the PBD podcast. We did a market research. We realized it was because of Tom Ellsworth, but it's gone up a lot because of the interest and Tom being a family guy, and a lot of ladies want their husbands to be paying attention to Tom and what things we talk about here. There's requests of getting rid of Adam. A guy tweeted me the other day saying, look, don't ever make the mistake of getting rid of Adam. He is this. He starts building up how special Adam is. I'm like, oh, my God, Adam, stop. I thought it was Adam on the other end trying to sell me on himself. And I responded back. I said, I have some bad news for you. We just fired Adam, and he was devastated. Started campaigning, but unfortunately, Adam is back, and we're great to have him. And you guys know we love Adam, but at the same time, you know, this is about Valentine's Day for you and your wives. So let me get back to that message.
It was a nice love message, right?
Yes, it was. You got a little too much last week, and I'm trying to tone it back down for you.
Put me in my place, sir.
You don't need a lot of it. Sometimes when you do
that.
you're walking in clouds, and
we don't need that.
You know, Adam's a Hollywood guy, folks. You got to get used to that. But let me get back to you, gents. Valentine's Day, okay? Last week we had the rhinestone shirt with the vitamin. You see the black one right there, Rob? Sold out like this. So fellas, good for you for purchasing it for your wives. But that's been sold out. The one that we have now is the red one, red sweater with the VT logo on the front, nice. And the future looks bright on the back. The material is amazing, absolute amazing material. You Rob, we still have some of the pink hats left. If you order today and you put the 2-day shipping, you will get this pre-Valentine's Day, and the first 50 orders, again, special gift will be added in the box. Go place the order. That pink hat was a number 5 selling item we had last week. Not that one, the other one, the bottom left. That one was a number 5 best-selling item last week for Valentine's Day. Okay, with that being said, let's go to an interview that took place that maybe President Trump didn't give the feeling that J.D. Vance would be his Valentine for 2028. Okay? President Trump's being asked about J.D. Vance. A lot of talks about him being a presidential candidate for 2028. People are talking about it, and you know how they measure cars 0 to 60, right? This car goes 0 to 60 in 2.1 seconds. This car goes 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. I want you to watch how quickly President Trump gave the answer of whether J.D. Vance has his endorsement for 2028. Rob, go ahead and play the clip.
Do you view Vice President J.D. Vance as your successor, the Republican nominee in 2028?
No, but he's very capable. I mean, I don't think that I think you have a lot of very capable people. So far, I think he's doing a fantastic job. It's too early. We're just starting.
But by the time you get to the midterms, he's going to be looking for an endorsement.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that this has been the greatest opening, almost 3 weeks, in the history of the presidency.
It's definitely been the fastest and the most stuff
Well,
happening.
we've done so much so fast, and we really had to, because they have really, what they've done to our country is so sad. It's so sad. We're going to be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before.
Glenn, thoughts?
I think Donald Trump has he's told me he has a 12-year plan. What he's doing right now is he's got to hit everything he promised in the first 100 days. We're in a tough place with the economy over the next year. If it's not turning in a year, we're in trouble. But to really cement this in, it's going to take him 12 years. I think personally, I wouldn't read too much into that. I think J.D. Vance was a great pick because he could be, but we don't know. We haven't seen him in action. Let's not anoint him the successor to Trump. And I think he's saying that. Let's watch him. Let's watch him and see.
You think that's what it is? You think it's more about him earning it, or do you think, because there's a guy on Manek that keeps Manek to me, Zeus, very interesting guy. And every time he Maneks me, it's all about one thing. He just shares stories about another article that talks about President Trump third term. Rob, if you can go on Google and just type in President Trump third term, just type that and see what's come out the last 24 hours, right? Zoom in a little bit. So don't click on any of this stuff. Just read all of them. So what to know about the possibility of Trump serving a third term? That's The Hill, Seattle Times. Trump muses about a third term over and over again. Then you got New York Times. Trump uses about a third term over and over again. No, Trump cannot run for re-election again 2028. Do you think he is lobbying for that, or there's nothing there?
I think this is exactly like everybody freaking out about Canada being the 51st state. Would he like it to be the 51st state? You bet he would. Would he accept Gaza and say, yeah, I'm going to develop that. We're going to have the first 18,000 hole golf course in Gaza. Would he do that? Yes. Is he floating these things? And if the people decide to go along with it, will he do it? Yes. But I don't think I hope not, that he's actively going to pursue that and say, I want the Constitution changed. If he plants the seeds and they grow outside of him, and all of a sudden everybody's like, we got to have him for a third term, would he go along with it? Absolutely.
Vinny, what do you think about the response Trump on JD that quickly?
I mean, like we talked about it before, the fact that he didn't waste 1 second, he knew exactly what was going on. But Glenn, you make a great point too. It's very, very early. And Pat, who knows? Maybe that's the kind of fire that somebody like JD needs to hear to be like, oh, okay, you don't think that I could be the president? Let me show you. And he has 4 years to do it. But I think he made a great point that, or maybe he has somebody else in mind. Maybe Trump promised somebody else something, and that's one of the reasons.
Who?
I mean, I don't know.
Tom, what do you think? How do you process that? Because I got a complete different lens, but go for it.
Well, given that we just finished Obama's third term, you know, yeah,
from the basement.
And by the way, I'm not trying to get laughs there. When you talk to the insiders and you talk to people that know what's going on, two names came up all the time: Obama and Blinken.
Yep.
And they said, who is this? So if he's not really there and he's really incapacitated, what's really going on? And you would have a series of names, usually not more than 4 or 5, but Obama and Blinken were constantly on that list.
Yep.
So I think we've seen Obama's third term. So, okay, so that is just historical reality when we look back at what really happened. This third term, I think what people are saying is, we are really excited that the right guy is in here, as far as we're concerned. We're really excited about what he's doing, and he's already served 1 term. Wouldn't it be great if he could serve 3? And I think that's what's going on. And there's a lot of cannon fodder out there for that, and people are pushing it. Now, I agree with what Glenn just said, that if I throw the seeds out there and then drop back, and then they get watered and sunlight and grow, and then I step forward and go, look at all this marvelous corn. Of course I'd like to be a corn farmer.
Yes.
Then I think that's kind of the way it works, so that you can. Nancy Pelosi did the same thing in terms of plausible deniability, and then coming back, well, if that's what all of us, what do you mean us? It was you that lit the fuse that put him on stage to have an embarrassment on that debate, Biden. And then you come back and go, well, if we've all evaluated this and we think this is what should be. So this is kind of a political move.
Think it is? You think it is? Adam, what's your angle?
I think there's also a harbor he's keeping. I think he's keeping a safe harbor to say, hey, I'm not going to endorse anybody right now.
Right, Adam.
So if I'm going to put myself in Trump's shoes, here's what I'm thinking. I go, all right, I've been president for not even a month now. Everything I've dealt with for the past year, getting almost locked up, criminal convictions, shot in the face, yada, yada, yada. I just got reelected, first time in 100 years since Grover Cleveland, and you want me thinking about what's going to happen maybe in 4 years?
Yes.
I feel like he wants to tell Brett Baer, who he probably respects, shut the up and let me just be the president.
Yes.
I've done more in the last 3 weeks than maybe anybody ever.
How many people
get out of my face?
How many people you think wanted to hear that question being asked?
I think for speculation for future markets, sure, but there's going to come a day.
I guarantee you millions of people have been waiting for someone to ask that question. I thought it was a great question by Brett.
I think it's ahead of the parade.
I think so as well.
I think you're about a block ahead of the parade.
I don't know if I disagree, but for the sake of asking the question, I think it's a great question to ask.
Is it a good question to ask if you're Brett Baer? Sure, it's a very obvious question.
Yeah.
But if you're Trump, you're the president, you're doing what you got to do. You think
shut it down.
Here's my only question. What percentage, if you're Trump or even you guys, do you attribute Trump's reelection to J.D. Vance? What percentage?
I think it was part of a stew. You know, I think they try to kill him, and Elon Musk stands up. And then you start having all of these figures fall in. J.D. Vance is kind of this new guy, got a great backstory. He's Silicon Valley as well. And so you start to have this whole movement around him that is outside of traditional Washington. And I think he played a role, but not like Elon Musk did.
Not even close, right?
Yeah, not even close.
Would it be
But
fair
he
to say
did-
that Mike Pence probably had more of a role in getting Trump elected than J.D. Vance did? Meaning,
I don't think so.
I think Trump would have ran literally with a ham sandwich and he got elected.
I don't
and,
think-
And no disrespect to J.D., I think he's a beast. I think he's smart. I think he's a great dude. But Trump won the election. It was Trump, and he had to insert a second name.
Yeah,
Period.
Trump won the election. However,
How many
the
cups of coffee
image
did you have today?
of-
Is it just coffee, Red Bull? What are you drinking? You're on fire. I like it.
You said Valentine's Day,
Go ahead.
Pat.
No, it's
I
good.
love
the
Wow,
image
this is-
of what Donald Trump is changed. He was a guy who was just shooting from the hip. He's a guy who was just saying outrageous things. After he gets shot, all that temperature goes down, and he just becomes very disciplined and focused. And every pick he makes, everything he does, everybody, all of his supporters are like, "Oh wow, that's good. Oh wow, that's really good." And so he just assembles. It is a team of rivals. He has assembled a team. It's not just the president. It's probably, and for me to say this is remarkable because I can't believe I'm saying this. He may go down as a Lincoln, Jefferson, Washington. He may go down as the greatest president since Washington. And it's not just him. It's, I was talking to Tom Holman last week, and I asked him, how long have you been working on this with the president? And he said, he called me over a year ago, said, "Tom, if I get in, will you serve?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "Good. I want to take this down. I want to dismantle. How do we do it?" He said, "We've been planning this for over a year." And that's what all of them have been doing. It's a team.
Then bingo. By the way, I love the team of rivals concept, the whole Lincoln book, phenomenal. So for me, what you just said validates this. Ask the question, is Trump a guy that thinks 5, 10, 15 steps ahead than the other guy? Okay, so he's already thinking about 2020, just so everybody knows, and he's already thinking about 2032.
About 2032.
He is. So he is thinking about 2032. And for me, in his mind, and I don't blame him for thinking that way, the moment Biden started pardoning everybody, he said, "Oh, really? Thank you. Thank you. You just made my job so much easier. First time ever you want to pardon your entire family? No problem. You want to pardon Anthony Fauci? You want to pardon Millie? You want to pardon all these guys? You're telling us that they were guilty? No problem. Thank you for making my job easier." But in the back of his mind, he's saying, "I lost that one term. Oh, you took that away from me? Didn't one of your guys serve 3 terms? Wasn't that guy serving 3 terms? Wasn't that guy's name FDR? Why can't I serve 3 terms?" I'm willing to bet internally in his mind, 28 is his, and don't know how it's going to happen, but in his creative, obsessive, stubborn mind, he's going to find a way to drive the hell out of that and talk to right attorneys behind closed doors to figure out a way to see, even if there's a 5% chance of that taking place. And then on the J.D. Vance side, I also think for him, he's going to be watching to see how JD does, but I think he's got 5 other names in his mind that he's thinking about.
There are 2 things that I have seen Donald Trump do, and I know he used to go to church with Norman Vincent Peale.
I remember.
So
he would talk about it.
He would go to church there.
Power of positive thinking.
That tells you everything. I was backstage at some arena with him over the summer, and I was concerned about the security, especially his plane. And I said, now we find out that he had dual planes and everything else. He was on it. And I said to him, I'm very concerned. He said, "Stop. Don't even speak about this. Don't let those words come out of your mouth. Let's move on."
I love it.
Okay, so he doesn't speak, but he does speak things into existence.
Yes.
So when he's saying this, it's exactly like you were saying, that he'll plant those seeds and watch them grow.
And you know what else the other part is? Let me tell you what personally I've experienced this on a very smaller scale is. So I'm watching this video. It's actually a pretty good video to play. Rob, do you remember the video I sent to you guys about what is it? Tyler Perry. Yep. Can you play that clip?
Yeah, give me one second.
So Tyler Perry, it's in a PBD podcast group text. You'll find it. you know, in my life, I watch guys. My level of competitiveness with anybody is I always want to do more for you than you do for me, and it's a way of saying, hey, I'm gonna go out of my way, but in return, I expect loyalty. If I'm doing this for you, right? You're going to meet more people than you've ever met in your life. You're going to get a lot of opportunities. It's just a mindset when you're building guys an insurance company. Here's what we're going to be doing. And then you learn over time, some of the guys you started doing a lot for too early, and they were not grateful for it. Some of the guys you pumped up a little too early, and they became entitled. Some of the guys you did a little too early, and they became arrogant. Some of the guys used your contact to get deals, and then you're like, oh, got it. So until one time it happens, it's just this person. 5 times it happens, no, there's more of you. 50 times it happens, holy shit, I better get a better system to filter people out. So I know in his mind, giving up that endorsement is very, very heavy. Valuable. Very heavy. And why would he give that to anybody? You got to hold that to see what's going to happen with him. Rob, if you can play this clip by Tyler Perry, absolutely love this for everybody to watch. Go for it.
My life comes in my life in the category of a tree. Some people are leaves. They come in your life. They're there for a moment. They're there for a minute. They're just there. They're going to give you a little shade, do whatever they need to. But when the seasons change or the winds blow too hard, they can't handle it. So they're out. You can't be mad at leaf people. Leaf people are who they are. Let them be leaf people. Don't be mad at them because they're a leaf. Then there are people who are branches, who are a little bit stronger. You can rely on them to be there through seasons. But if you step out on them too far, they may break and leave you high and dry. So you don't know how much you can trust a branch until they've grown with you for a while. But then there are roots at the bottom of the tree. And if you find people who are like the roots, they're not trying to be seen. They don't need anybody to know they're there. They're just trying to give you what you need to hold you up. And a tree can have way many more leaves and branches than it have roots. So if you have a few roots in your life, you've done really well. And I've been very, very fortunate. God has blessed me with a good handful of roots to hold me up, to hold me accountable, to keep my feet to the fire, and to pray for me.
Phenomenal message. So what I think he's going through right now is he's trying to find out who the roots are in his administration.
I think he already found them.
I think it's too early with a few of them.
Maybe.
I agree.
Maybe.
I agree. But I think it's still too early with a few of them. And what he's proven is he's the alpha amongst alphas. And others can try to argue that he's the alpha amongst the alphas.
Yes.
There is no question about that.
Yes.
So now you can either think like, well, no, I'm going to try to outdo him and or you can say, no, I'm going to be one of the roots because I know in return I'm going to get X, Y, Z. That's how I'm processing him not giving up the endorsement that easily, and I absolutely support the way he did it.
Pat, who do you think, other than his family, are the actual roots in Trump's orbit?
I think it's less than a handful, and I think Susie is one of them. I think it's less than a handful. I think Susie is such a crit.
I think Cash is one.
Cash Patel.
I think it's still early, but we'll see. To me. And by the way, I'm talking from a standpoint of I've never spoken to Cash, and I don't know the relationship. He's more educated on that to be able to comment on it. I know you and Cash have done great podcasts together and great conversations together, but I think that
Cash has been there for a long time for Trump. He's been through the fire with Trump. He trusts Cash Patel.
And by the way, you said family. Family has nothing to do with it. Trust me. The longer you're around, you realize family is not going to be there. Family, they're going to look for their own opportunities sometimes. And, they're going to be like, well, this, that, because they still have a spouse and they're talking to somebody else that's in their ear more than Trump is. But at the same time, there's some that he's like, no, I know for a fact this guy's a true believer of the legacy of the family. That person wants to build their own identity. This person had a falling out. We're probably not going to have a good relationship together for 10 years. That's kind of what that works.
But when it comes to family, though, he is a guy who, his sons, they went to work laying wire, pulling wire in his buildings. They all had to start very young and do the most menial jobs all the way up. He required them to prove themselves. He doesn't have a problem if you're creating something in the family. If you're creating something on your own, it's like his son just went out. Barron just went out and started his own thing. That's good. He loves that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
But you have to prove yourself.
Yeah. I mean, that's the right way to do it. We were at an event it was a Goldman Sachs event in Chicago, St. Regis. Tom, you remember this when we came back. And in this room, I'm sitting in this room, Glenn, and everybody's talking about G5s and G4s and G3s. I'm a G4, I'm a G5. I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know there were this many gangster billionaires. Like all these G's are like G's. There was a song back in the days called G's Are On The Move. Who sang the song G's Are On The Move? Can you look up G's Are On The Move? It's actually great. Can you text it to me? I forgot about this Havoc and Prodigy song. No, don't play it. Just text it to me, Rob, if you can. So anyway,
PBD knows the most random hip-hop.
G4, G5, G3, and the main thing that every parent who was a billionaire on stage in their 80s and 70s was being asked is, what do you do with the kids? They got to get an MBA. They got to go out and work for somebody else. Then they can come back in a family business and work. 3 years, you have to go work for somebody else. But anyways, we'll see. Let's get to the next topic. We got a lot of them. Here's the next one. You talk AI a lot, Glenn.
Yeah.
Recently, Musk and Sam Altman have been going back and forth, okay? And it's not been pretty. So OpenAI started as a nonprofit, I believe, and it was a noble cause. Hey, let's do OpenAI. Everything is open. Let as many people take advantage of this so they can do it themselves. And it's not about money. It's about the consciousness, future, humanist, all this other stuff. And then he sits there, Sam Altman's like, we should have made this a for-profit company.
Mm-hmm.
And Elon Musk comes out and is not happy about it. And Trump in one of the interviews says, how do you handle the fact that, Musk is calling out one of the guys on the deal? He says, yeah, he hates one of the guys on the deal. What do you want me to do about it? I hate some of the guys on deals, right? They don't get along. And Musk goes and brings a group of people leading a $97.4 billion bid to control OpenAI, right? 97.4 to control OpenAI. He really wants this company. It's at this point, it's very obvious. And it's very obvious that Sam Altman is leveraging it to get under his skin, and he doesn't want to sell the company, right? So along with investors, including Vi Capital, Jay, and Hollywood agent Ari Emanuel made a $97.4 billion bid to control OpenAI's nonprofit governing body. The bid is a direct challenge to OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, who quickly dismissed it on X, saying, no, thank you, but we will buy Twitter for $9.74 billion, hence 97.4, $9.74 billion. And Elon responded with swindler, go a little bit lower. And for people that are wondering, that's not Elon's account. The handle is Elon Musk, but he changed the name.
Oh, is he German now?
To, Harry Bulls. And he changed it to that. So anyways, long story short, the bid could complicate OpenAI's ongoing $40 billion fundraising deal led by SoftBank, which values the company at $300 billion. OpenAI nonprofit structure gives it legal control over the company despite having only 2 employees and $22 million in assets. Musk's offer OpenAI to determine a fair market value for its nonprofit arm, which must be compensated if Altman and his team fully transition to a for-profit model. If Sam Altman and the present OpenAI Inc. board are intent on becoming a fully for-profit corporation, it is vital that the charity be fairly compensated, said Mark Tuberhoff, Musk's attorney. Glenn, thoughts?
I think the reason why Musk is doing this is he actually understands the threat of AGI, ASI. He knows that we are probably 2026 from AGI and 2028 from ASI. And he truly believes that it should be open for everyone, that this technology should be available for everyone. This is why Silicon Valley moved into the Trump camp, because they knew that the government was going to control it. The company that he's now trying to bid against, Sam Altman, is not a good guy, not a guy I would trust with AI. Why
is that?
Because I think that, first of all, the whole premise of OpenAI was that it was open. When Elon Musk came in, he did this to stop so we didn't have to possibly worry about transhumanism. That we have to have a way to compete with the machine, and no one can own that. It has to be owned by everyone. And when Sam says, "Oh, money, money, money," I don't think you can trust this guy at all. And Elon Musk knows it's why he wants to go to Mars. It's not just about global warming for him. It's more about AI. Get humans off the planet before ASI happens. Otherwise, transhumanism has to happen. You have to have, this is Elon Musk, you have to be able to have an implant that will help you understand ASI. Otherwise, we're ants, and we will be controlled by ASI. So your solutions are for Elon Musk. You have to control it. You have to have it open so someone can come in and compete if, God forbid, it goes awry. 2, you're going to have to develop brain implants that give you access to the internet, and you're able to process like ASI. And 3, get the hell off the planet. Otherwise, humanity is over. I think he truly gets it. And I think he's really the only one standing up and telling America, for as much as they will hear, the truth of what is coming, what danger this poses. Tom.
Well, I agree with that. And I feel like this is a 3-level chess game. Level 1 is the egos of the 2 men involved, Elon Musk and Sam Altman. And they go back, and they've been banging back and forth quite a bit. The second level of this is Altman desperately needs fuel, big stacks of capital, and they're out there trying to raise a lot of it. A $40 billion raise, that's a big, they're trying to raise that much money. Picture it this way. They're like trying to raise 3 companies that are going to basically be capital that's put into OpenAI at a value of $300 billion. Well, valuations are determined by market forces and by investor forces. And so what he does, he comes out with this at 1/3 the value that Altman's going out for. So Altman's going out for a $300 billion valuation. He comes out at 1/3 of that at 97.4. And he's using the law of odd numbers. If he comes out and says 80, it's just a different thing. When he comes out and says, no, 97.4, he comes out with an odd number. This is the second level of the chess game, complicates Altman's fundraising, and there's also the nonprofit part of it, as Trump's lawyer correctly pointed out, that there's that. And then the higher level thing is, there's a reason why Musk has talked about making humans interplanetary. There's a reason, because he really believes that AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is, AI solving little problems for us, doing things for us, kind of mimicking us or being human-like, versus ASI, where it's almost like the opening scene of Terminator 2, when it says what was the name of the computer? Skynet. Skynet became sentient on December 15th at this thing. And so suddenly is thinking beyond humans, ahead of humans, and there you have that web. So this is a 3-level chess game here where he's interfering, he's riffing on his ex-buddy, Sam. He's interfering with the financing because he wants to interfere with the financing because he wants to interfere with the structures. And then also he's playing this game 5 moves ahead, and he's concerned about this AGI-ASI thing. And if you listen to him at smaller talks, this is exactly what Musk is talking about. So there's a huge underbelly to this thing. This is just a little bit of an iceberg showing up above water. There's a big thing underneath.
If Elon is pushing this hard, and Elon's got an eye for what's going to happen in 10 years, this is either a big threat. Say that again?
It's not 10 years.
It's less than 10 years?
By the time we are electing the next president, we'll have AGI and possibly ASI. By the next election.
We have AGI in certain lanes right now.
Yes, we do.
But is it like an Oklahoma land rush type of a model, and he wants to be urgent to get it before Altman has control of it?
Here's when you'll know everybody is serious. We need to build nuclear power plants right now. We need every piece of energy online right now, and we need server farms the size of cities. When you start to see America say, we are building nuclear power plants without really any discussion, we're building them. The amount of energy that ASI is going to take is mind-boggling. You can't run ASI even on the energy that we have right now. You have to you have to have these server farms next to a nuclear power plant, and that power plant is just powering the server farm for ASI. That's going to take about $800 billion. When somebody is serious, which is exactly the number, by the way, that Trump is proposing, when you get serious money of $800 billion for power and server farms, that's when you know we're in the lead. And I have to tell you, I have been preaching about ASI and AGI since the 1990s and warning about the ethical things that we have to take into consideration. But I'll tell you this, as afraid of ASI as I am, the United States better well be the one that has it, or we are in deep trouble. The world is in deep trouble.
So then the way I'm processing what you're saying is there's different layers. One is which country is going to lead ASI and AGI.
And that'll be decided by energy.
Perfect. So nuclear, which I get that part. So let's just say we're the lead. Great. So who cares whoever leads it within America? Just let's be happy to be the fact that we're leading it. Now, second, let me ask the second part of the question. Then a second layer is, look, if we can lead it as a nation first, great. But the second one is who the hell is running it? Is the concern, because you know who owns most of OpenAI? 49% is Microsoft. And so that's who? That's Bill Gates.
Bad.
So that's
Bad.
the part where it's a Gates controlling it or a Musk camp controlling it. And,
in my vault, in my library, I have a letter from Lyndon Baines Johnson as the president to, I can't remember who it was, in Silicon Valley, who was proposing government funding for Silicon Valley. This is in 1967. And Johnson says, we know the government needs to have a high tech. We are going to be investing. The government has been in on Silicon Valley from the beginning, and that's not necessarily working out to be a good thing. We need to make sure whoever is programming and whoever is owning this, that we have ethical people that we trust. Having Bill Gates involved in OpenAI,
too late. He owns 49%.
It's terrifying.
No, he owns it already. So there's nothing.
So put some handcuffs on him with Elon Musk.
Right.
Yeah, and what you're talking about in terms of energy, we brought this up on the podcast. We've been kind of sounding this alarm for a little while. Right now in the U.S., there is one large-scale nuclear reactor under construction. It's in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and it was just approved for that power company. Funny, Oak Ridge is one of the 3 cities of the old Manhattan Project, out in the middle of nowhere. And would you like to know how many China has under construction?
How many?
27. 27. And there are 2 companies in the United States that have been fighting tooth and nail to get permission to build small reactors next to data centers. One of those is Oracle, and Larry Ellison is leading it. Following the Ellison framework is Google, that's trying to build the data center with 3 small unitary next-gen nuclear reactors. So we are trying to do this while our government is pushing green energy, and they're using the word nuclear the way you would have used it back in 1978 with 3 Mile Island.
Yes.
But
notice
wrong.
Gates goes in and tries to get 3 Mile Island. It tries to open it up and is opening it up for his own use. And nobody's saying a word about that. I mean, everybody should be rooting. It's amazing now that the left has just nonstop demonizing Elon Musk, a guy who honestly, single-handedly, I shouldn't say that, with in collaboration in some ways with Donald Trump, has freed the world and given the world, the people of the world, actual hope that we're not just going to be the downtrodden. You should be rooting for XAI and what he's doing in Tennessee. If you can get Elon Musk, and I hate to say this because I don't know Elon Musk, and I don't necessarily trust Elon Musk with everything, but I trust him more than anybody else because he's verbalizing the warnings where everybody else is saying, I mean, I just saw...
You know what I trust? Here's what I trust. I trust competition. I trust competition because I think we need competition on both sides. There's a part of me that doesn't mind there being competition because anything with a monopoly on one end will eventually have too much power to hurt the other side.
Then you should be for open
I am. Oh, for sure I am. No, that's not the question. The question is I want competition where they can go at it. Anyways, okay, let's go to the tariff conversation here. All right. So tariffs. While this is taking, I'll just read you a bunch of these. Okay, Trump plans to announce 25% steel, aluminum tariffs on Monday. This is yesterday, right? That's a Bloomberg story. Rob, I think you got a clip on this. Is that him speaking about it, or is that somebody else?
Give me 1 second. I'm looking for it.
Okay, so that's that one.
Oh, here it is.
Is it him or is it someone else?
It's him.
Okay, go for it.
So the failed American trade policies have led our once incredible United States steel and aluminum industries, once incredible, they're not now, but they're not bad. I saved them because of my first term, totally saved them. If I didn't do what I did, I put massive tariffs, not the highest level, but pretty massive tariffs. We took in a lot of money and we took in a lot of jobs, but we were being pummeled by both friend and foe alike. Our nation requires steel and aluminum to be made in America, not in foreign lands. We need to create, in order to protect our country's future, a resurgence of U.S. manufacturing and production, the likes of which has not been seen for many decades.
Rob, you can
It's
pause it
time
right
for
there.
our great industry.
So 25% tariffs on all imports of steel and aluminum, okay? Then the EU and Asian exporters, including South Korea, are preparing for potential retaliation, recalling past trade disputes. Under Trump's first term in 2018, the U.S. imposed duties on $7 billion of European steel and imports. China retaliates with imposing $14 billion worth of U.S. goods with their own set of tariffs. So that's China, okay? Beijing imposes tariffs of $14 million goods with levies ranging from 10 to 15% on liquefied natural gas, coal, crude oil, farm equipment, and automotive goods. Its embassy in Washington announced. So this is the move after U.S. Trump posing a 10% levy on Chinese products. Okay, so that's that part. Stay with me here. While this is taking place, Brazil makes preparations for U.S. tariffs, okay? Reciprocal tariffs are all over the place. I mean, I can go on and on and on about different conversations here. This leads to the story of interest rates. Rob, if you can pull up interest rates on what's going on here. What page is that talking about where interest rates are now? Is it the one with, yeah, that's the one right there. It's page 19. A Wall Street Journal story comes out talking about the mood of the American consumer is souring. Consumer sentiment has dropped significantly as inflation expectations jumped from 3.3 in January to 4.3 in February, the highest since November of 2023. It's very rare to see a full percentage point jump in inflation expectations, says Joanne Su, the director of University of Michigan. Concerns about tariffs and economic turbulence have driven pessimism across the political spectrum, with even Trump supporters like Paul Bison, a 58-year-old business owner, saying, I don't like the turbulence, I don't like the chaos in a market. Trump's threats of 10% on China, 25% on Mexico and Canada fuel the economic, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so that's what's taking place there. Tom, your thoughts about tariffs and how it's increasing, how it's causing inflation expectation jumping from 3.3 to 4.3 in February?
First of all, the tariffs haven't been in place long enough to cause that. They're just getting announced right now. And I find it amusing that when Trump was announcing tariffs on metals, that the European Union retaliated with tariffs on Harley-Davidson motorcycles and Levi's. That's what the European Union. That would be like a wife says, okay, I'm really upset. Embargo on sexual relations in this household. And then the husband says, oh, yeah? Well, then I'm not going to put the seat down. Right? It's like, how do you compare these two? And so I think right now, I have said for weeks, these are tactics, not taxes. And they are meant to move people in the middle of negotiations. Are markets responding? Are stock markets responding? We had a 48-hour bounce on the stock market 2 weeks ago, and things went back to normal on a couple things in tariffs. So the tariffs, what he's saying is, if you're not going to come to the microphone and you're not going to negotiate on fair trade policies with me, guess what? Here I come. And I'm going to build jobs in America. And I'm going to, if that means I'm going to put tariffs on raw bauxite, which becomes aluminum, okay, then this is what we're going to do. And so these are tactics, not permanent taxes, and we have to wait and see the impact on them. Now, the news media needs to say red man, orange man, bad, and so they're saying inflation's up a bit. It must be those damn tariffs. The tariffs, there hasn't been an impact on a price of something yet. The tariffs have to go into impact. Then you need compliance by companies or mining companies. Then you have to have end result to finished goods, so you can say that they've had time to actually calculate that inflation is up. So any inflation that's up right now, these are November and December impact stats that are still related to the vestiges of the Biden administration. But the media wants their headline. So the negotiations are real, the taxes are real, but they're not going to be here real long. And these are negotiations, and people need to calm down, because I think it's all going to settle back, and the water is going to achieve its level, and we're going to be just fine.
Glenn.
But in the meantime, lots of headlines for people that don't like the orange man.
Glenn.
So I agree. You have to separate his love for tariffs, which he loves, and then also income taxes. He hates income taxes. Would he like to see the United States go back to the way we originally were, where we're getting all of our taxes from overseas and not from the people? Absolutely. But what you're seeing here is negotiation. And every time the press has said, oh, look, it's going to destroy, they've been wrong. He's negotiating. He is the toughest and most brilliant negotiator I have ever seen. From tariffs to Gaza. Look at what the guy did with Gaza. He says the controversial thing was, you know what? All these Palestinians need to leave Israel. That's not what everybody was talking about the next day. They were talking about, and you know what? I'm going to build a resort there. It's going to be the resort of the United States. Everybody in the Middle East, they were trying to stop that, not the exit of the Gazans. He does this every single time. He is negotiating, and brilliantly so. Everybody has faltered so far. Everybody has lost to him on tariffs. The key here is on any tariff that he actually means. What he is doing is rebuilding our infrastructure. We have got to make this stuff ourselves. But how are you going to do that when you can buy it cheaply overseas? He's trying to bring all this industry back, but that takes time. He's got to balance this thing to where he can punish people and reward people. If he goes to a 15-15-15 tax, if he can do that, then you're going to start to have all of these manufacturers coming back, basing things here in the United States. But it's dangerous, a really dangerous game to play with these tariffs until you get the taxes that incentivize people to come back here.
Makes sense. Adam.
Yeah, what he did on Gaza, I believe you mentioned the fact that he moved the Overton window.
Yes, yeah.
Which is basically sort of what's acceptable, what's sort of in the nomenclature of what is even appropriate to even discuss. He's like, oh yeah, we're going to go over here now. We're like, whoa, where'd that even come from?
Right.
But regarding the economy, because that's a lot of what I would kind of want to focus on, is the fact that, you know, he campaigned on basically a couple main points. Immigration, which I think Tom Homan is basically doing a great job in the economy. And then what's the number one tool he's using to basically disrupt the economy is tariffs. Mm-hmm. And he's fallen in love with the tariffs. We all know that. However, you're starting to see the headlines come out and people are basically confused because, Rob, if you want to pull up just the headlines real quick, we don't need Trump's conflicting business policies sow economic uncertainty. This is the number one story in Wall Street Journal right now. Mm-hmm. So if you know anything about the markets, the market likes certainty. The market kind of wants to know, hey, what's going on here? And right now it says companies are excited about the administration's focus on fossil fuels, lower taxes, and deregulation. Great, but confusion over tariffs, deportations, and federal cuts is getting in the way. You also have another article about the fact that CEOs and bankers, for them, the Trump euphoria is fading fast. Then you have another headline, the mood of the American consumer is souring. Do you have that article?
That's the one I read.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. So people are basically confused. And there's a bunch of graphs, basically people don't know what Trump is going to do. And that's great in a negotiation. That's great if you're going to basically try to move people out of Gaza. But if you're the American consumer, if you're a banker, you're a CEO, and you're planning for Q2 or next year, what have you, trying to plan 5 moves ahead, it's kind of hard to do your planning if you don't know what's going to happen
How-
6, 12, 18 months from now.
How is it a guy like me knows what's coming? Because he's doing what he said he would do. How is it that it's causing uncertainty? You know what he's doing. He's
Because
using
the average
tariffs
person isn't as smart as you, Glenn.
No,
the average person isn't writing books or writing.
You're talking
the average
about
person
there. You're
doesn't
talking
know-
about the markets
No, I'm just
being
saying,
uncertain.
The consumer sentiment. That's every single one of us.
But what's your
What I'm
point?
saying
What
is-
is- what's your- is
what
your
I'm saying is
point-
the average consumer is confused.
Yes.
That's my
Confused
point.
or scared?
Maybe a little bit of both. Pull up the fear gradient.
I think,
index.
I think you're playing with
Yeah.
headlines. You need to look
Yeah.
at numbers, Adam. I mean, 47% of people, the approval rating is 47%, which is a high watermark for presidents at this time as people are trying to figure out, okay, what's the tax policy going to be? Are we going to get the secretaries all, in place so we can have hard policy decisions coming out? And right now, consumer sentiment, is overall strong. And with that, you need to look at the writers that wrote those, just like you can go to vtnews.ai and you can find out where the spin is. The writers that wrote some of those Wall Street Journal stories, go find out what they believe and take a look at what they're doing. They're interlacing two things. Oh, banks love this, but there's uncertainty about this. It's confusing. Wait, prove to me that the second half of your headline made to generate clicks is somehow that there is a true impact on the front end of what Jamie Dimon in the banking industry is doing right now. There's not. These are headlines. The media is in the business of selling ads.
Well, unfortunately,
and they're doing it right now.
Unfortunately,
By
they're
the
not
way,
just headlines, Tom, because there's actually data that goes along with this. When you talk about consumer sentiment, it's not like they can just throw a headline out there and then not have any data to support it. So, Rob, if you pull up the pie charts that I sent you in that text just now, it can show that the American consumer is confused as hell. Look at the red. They're basically saying, are we going to end up paying for all this?
That's okay.
So if you look at the red right here, they're basically saying, is the American consumer going to end up being the one who pays for the tariffs? Now, I do agree they haven't been implemented yet. So it's all speculation. But they said in the article
second
right here,
half of the tariffs have not been implemented. Trump's theory is, go ahead, raise tariffs. Everybody will say, well, that's just going to cost of living is going to go up. Yeah. So reduce taxes. When you do that, then you have the balance. You can't just raise the tariffs. His second shoe hasn't dropped yet.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yep.
it does.
But
so
the point is, we don't know what's going to
Adam,
happen. I think
look,
is using the art of the deal.
I got you.
Go ahead.
Finney, you were going to say
Yeah,
something.
because let's just first find out how we got here. Just say the Biden administration ruined everything. They ruined the economy. Inflation went up by how many points, Tom?
All of them.
Oh, thank you. All of them. And what I think, and Adam, I get it, the fear and everything like that, and people are tripping out. But what people have to realize in layman's terms, America has had a dislocated shoulder for 4 years. Trump was a doctor that came in and reset it. And what happens when you reset? I've dislocated my shoulder. It hurts. It's going to be sore for a while, but after a while, we'll level back and we're going to be back. But it's going to hurt for a little while. So deal with it.
Whenever in a company you launch a new comp plan on how to bonus, on how to get a new sales structure that you launch to your guys, you know what happens? Some of the guys don't like it. They're like, man, this is bad. I'm out. Some of the guys panic. Some of the guys stay patient. But you cannot judge a comp plan and the consequences of it for 3 to 6 months. It takes about 6 months. And that's in a small company.
Yep.
Now, in a country, it may take 6 to 12 months. And you just have to be kind of patient to see what's going to be happening. I don't think it's going to take that long. But once they, come out with the tax plan, it's going to be a different sentiment when people start realizing, okay, I may be patient here with the tariffs to see what happens, but I'm going to get some victories here on this side. Okay, next story. Next story is about California wildfires. Allstate says California wildfires to bring company $1.1 billion in losses. Okay, now this is one of many insurance companies. And one of the most interesting percentages in this story is the following. Allstate CEO Tom Wilson announced that the company's losses from devastating Southern California wildfires are expected to be around $1.1 billion pre-tax, net of reinsurance, attributing the impact to strategic decision to reduce market share beginning 2007 in a comprehensive reinsurance program. The losses stem from fires, including the Palisades fire, which scorched 23,700 acres, destroyed 6,800 structures, and claimed more than 24 lives. Allstate shares of California homeowners, this is the percentage, Tom, Allstate shares of California homeowners insurance market has dropped from 12.6% in 2008 to 5.8%. They've been leaving. They're like, dude, lower the risk in the state of California. 5.8 in 2023. So this $1.1 billion loss is only on 5.8%, which means the other 20 times of whoever the other insurance companies are, what did they lose? Think about that number right there. Tom, what are your thoughts on this story?
Well, guess what? Why have they been moving? They have been moving because of long-term things that have been affecting California homeowners and the insurance industry. Number one, we can go back to all kinds of fires and everything that have happened with the terrible consequence to human life and property. PG&E, ancient systems, given a free pass by the California government to avoid suits. They were given a pass to avoid suits with their ancient transmission lines, which were arcing and have demonstrably started some of the wildfires over the last 15 years. Step one. Step two, forest has not been managed because California, running a deficit, has not been putting money into that. No, they've got billions of dollars missing for, homeless or immigration that they can't tell you where it went, but they don't have money to manage the forest. I guarantee you the underwriters have seen this. Then you have the rebuild costs thanks to inflation. And finally, and even worse, you have a thing that's called over-indexing, where you as an insurance company go, you know what? State Farm, by the way, this is Allstate. State Farm, you can go back and look at the articles. They had they had these three vice presidents I read about that from New Orleans to Mobile, Alabama, they had achieved just an incredible management of their sales force, and they had an amazing market share of coastal communities from Mobile, Alabama to New Orleans. And when Hurricane Katrina came through, guess what? State Farm, with all of that market share, was over-indexed. And so they took more of the loss and more of the devastation, because they're paying out the insurance. They sold an insurance policy, and now they got to pay it out as proper. Well, Allstate was finding out in California, but it's finding out through, and by the way, the underfunding of fire departments and reservoir systems, all of those come together. And if you don't think that the underwriters inside Allstate understood what was going around from a business standpoint. Everything I've described is business, not headlines, not political. PG&E was business. Managing the forestry areas, business. Permitting on where you could build new houses was all business. And guess what? We saw the pictures that were taken by the news helicopters of tons of fire trucks sitting in these, they called them boneyards, where they needed service and repair before they could put back into service. And underfunding of that. They understood all of it, and this is exactly the outcome of it.
By the way, you look at that right there, Tom. This came up just 2 hours ago. Travelers estimates California wildfire loss at $1.7 billion. So that's another $1.7 billion. And if you remember, ABC News came out with a story estimating that the total losses are going to be around $30 billion. Some are even saying $40 billion. Insurance company in the state of California. So again, when things like this happen, there are emergency board meetings. What do you think they're talking about in these board meetings? Do you think they're talking about expanding their business in California? Or do you think they're talking about when are we leaving the state of California? Glenn, your thoughts?
I'm not qualified to talk about the insurance. You guys definitely are. But I will tell you, as a taxpayer, until California fixes all of their policies, insurance companies and my tax dollars should not be there. Look, insurance is a business. You are asking these insurance companies to insure things that are insane. Insane. They shouldn't be doing it. They have to pay out for the policies that they had. But my tax dollars, I am so sick and tired of sending tax dollars to California to be wasted when every single one of us know how to prevent forest fires. We don't need Smokey the Bear to tell us. Yeah. You need common sense underbrush clear. You need to build your houses in the right places where the underbrush is away from it. And most importantly, you need tons of water. They're not doing any of those things. Until California starts to build more reservoirs, they get serious about water. They get serious about power. They get serious about clearing the underbrush and doing common sense things. we shouldn't send them $1. Now, I feel for the people who have lost their homes, and I want to be there for those people, but not California. Not California.
And when you hear the word FEMA, ladies and gentlemen, that is, you hear FEMA, that is your tax dollars leaving Washington, going to an area of devastation. And it's helping fellow citizens like yours, which is a good thing, but it shouldn't be going there and it shouldn't be happening.
By the way,
sensible.
When you're saying
FEMA
this,
is that.
FEMA story just came out. Employees set to be fired over egregious $59 million payment to New York City migrants. This is Musk claimed that the Federal Emergency Market Agency, FEMA, violated the law by sending $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal migrants, adding the Department of DOGE just discovered the payment. Musk insisted the money is meant for American disaster relief and instead is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals. Stated a clawback demand will be made today to recoup these funds. City Hall officials disputed Musk's claim on the $59 million had been previously disclosed. Not just luxury hotels, they clarified that only 19 of the $237 million in federal funding awarded to the city had not gone to hotels, and that the majority will be spent on reimbursing other services the city shouldered. By the way, while this is happening, New York Post comes out and says, who was getting fired, Rob? The story you just pulled up? The 4 people you said got fired?
Yes, 4 Federal Emergency Management Agency employees who were the ones that diverted the money to house the illegal migrants in New York City are going to be fired by FEMA today.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they should go to jail. But, by the way, let's stay on this. The only reason I'm reading this to you is because Glenn brought up FEMA and Tom talked about FEMA. Adam, you've been in insurance for a decade and a half. You see the story here with Allstate, state of California. What are you thinking?
I mean, I don't want to relitigate exactly what they said, but Glenn brought up the best point. Like if you go on page 8, while their city is burning down and there's billions of dollars to be held accountable, this is the #1 story in Fox News. California residents protest, threaten lawsuits over state's refusal to follow Trump's trans athletes ban. So it's like they'd rather have the city burnt down than live under Trump's anti-trans policies.
Go ahead.
You talked about basically having some common sense.
Yeah.
So while your city's burning down, hold on, guys. Stop. We got to have dudes be able to compete against ladies.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. That's
And
what we're
you
talking
know what?
about
If
right
that's
here.
what California wants, fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not paying for it anymore. I'm not. You can sit outside of California and see the disasters that are headed its way. You could have predicted all the homelessness, all the drug, all the crime, all the fires. We can sit in our states and watch it and go, that's not going to work out well. So why are we continuing to pay for it? I'm done. I'm done. If they want to do that, that's fine. But we're not sending you tax dollars. No.
And did you hear, Pat, as well? I think it was last week, Gavin Newsom was talking about the mandate for people that were rebuilding. And he said that you can't rebuild the same. You have to rebuild with science and climate in mind. So not only are they going to have to put up low-income housing, Pat, you can't even build what you want. And this, I read this yesterday, and this is a fact. The city of New York also pays... it's happening, $220 million to rent the entire Roosevelt Hotel in Manhattan to house illegals.
So I was...
Look that up, Rob.
I was in my charity. We were one of the first in to North Carolina for the hurricane. I saw it firsthand. I saw 8 days into it, FEMA just showing up and doing nothing. And the federal government trying to come in. We had set up a temporary airport. We had people with helicopters from all over the country coming in to volunteer their time, right? Saving people. The government didn't do anything. When the government first came in, thank God it was a bunch of veterans that were running this airport, if you will. It was at the Harley-Davidson dealership. And the federal government comes in and says, you're running an illegal airport here. This doesn't have FAA approval. And all of the vets stood up and said, you can try to shut us down. Go ahead. But we are staying here. We're saving lives. Get the hell off this property.
Seriously.
And they walked away. But they did it in every single category.
Yeah.
The FEMA needs to be shut down.
Yeah,
Shut down.
And millions of people are with you on that specific topic when you're seeing things like that taking place, which leads me to the next conversation. Bill Maher, who, by the way, when he's speaking, he did agree on a lot of things, and then he said, but I still think climate change is number one. I still think climate change is number one. Let me just read this to you. Bill Maher agrees with Trump that Department of Education should be abolished not like kids are getting any smarter. Rob, is this the one that he talks about, Rahm Emanuel?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and play this clip. Go for it.
Byron Donald.
The public is aware of the mismanagement, the improper payments.
What about the Department of Education? Now, I don't know that much about it, but I've never read good things. Rahm Emanuel, who I agree with on almost everything, here was a quote. He said, "A third of 8th graders can't read, and now he wants to close the department." And I thought, that's probably why they can't read. Or at least partly. I mean, it keeps the numbers keep getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't know if the Department of Education is anything but, I mean, it doesn't really, I don't know what it does, except take money. It's sort of a middleman. It doesn't like run classrooms or do stuff like that. I don't think it makes policy. So where are you on something like that?
I think that the Department of Education has to...
Glenn, thoughts?
Department of Education needs to be shut down. I mean, I know Betsy DeVos, and she said, you walk around that place, and she said, it has nothing to do with local schools, has nothing to do with it. The teachers union and Department of Education are the reason our kids are being churned out and pushed out into the streets without an ability to read anything. Those two operations, Department of Education, wipe it out. We've got to break up the unions. The unions are pretty much just another NGO that something like USAID, if it was in a foreign country, would be enabling and sending money to.
Tom.
Well, married to a teacher and who taught in LA Unified as a union teacher before she got fed up and went to private schools. So I know of what I speak, and I've raised now 2 girls that have come through this, and I've done a lot of research on it. And there are 2 changes that would need to be made. And the first is merit-based accountability for teachers. Teachers need to be evaluated for their merit and their abilities like anybody else, and the ones that have poor attitudes or not abilities are no longer teachers. Simple. The union uses tenure to block the merit-based evaluation of the teachers. So number one,
but give the teachers also an ability to teach. Let them find the good ones that teach in their own way. And let them teach it.
Correct. On the effectiveness
yes.
that teachers, exactly, completely. That's point 1. And number 2 is there's a lot of stats that are out there that talk about the number of dollars per pupil. But they don't talk about is the actual impact dollars per pupil. In other words, they're funding $1 million DEI programs, say, at a national level, or a school board is actually funding creation of alternative textbooks, and NGOs are getting that money. But then when you take, okay, there's 100 students here divided by 100 million, oh my gosh, that's $1 million per student. That's not what actually gets to the student. You have to look at the teacher salary and the actual investment in the school, and you'll find that. And so, number one, you got to break the union, or if you keep the union because you can't move it, you got to have merit-based teaching in place, number one. And number 2, you then have to go back and not worry about the woke and DEI programs at the school boards and go back to simple, hey, we need to elevate the capabilities of these students as referenced by the national test scores and make the school boards accountable to the macro test scores. If the school boards are accountable to macro test scores and the teachers are accountable to being measured on their merit and effectiveness, those 2 things will move it forward in America. But you also need a third thing. And people like to talk about it, but there is a third thing out there, which is parental impact. And how people parent and the value that people put on ensuring that their kids are at school and how early you give them a cell phone and what you make them do. You don't have to have a lot of money to help them focus and to put guardrails around them of what they do after school hours in terms of just studying and doing basic homework. So there has to be participation from the parents. And if those 3 points were pushed on a national level, all of this improves. And by the way, guess what I haven't even mentioned? Department of Education, because what do? They're just doing programs from up high at the federal level, and you don't need it. You absolutely don't need it.
Adam.
Yeah, Bill Maher's like, I don't even know what the Department of Education does. I don't think many of us do.
They don't.
Exactly. I think, something that Pat always talks about sense is that common sense will hopefully prevail. Whatever's happening in government right now, if you want to break down the whole Department of Government Efficiency, a lot of it is not even necessarily efficiency, it's accountability. They're basically saying, I think it was, they talked about zero-based budgeting and basically going line by line. Like, what are we doing with this money right here? Where's this going? Who's spending? It's going? Guatemala trans surgeries? What? We're doing puppet shows in Iraq? Like, where's all this money going? And I think that people are basically just starting to understand, all right, I don't know where this money is even freaking going. Hold on, what? We're not giving money to citizens in North Carolina or California. We're giving it to illegal immigrants in hotels in New York. These teachers' unions that are basically not enabling kids to learn. Let's make sure to prioritize families and kids, not teachers' unions. Let's prioritize, how about women, not trans women? Like, just common sense needs to prevail. And then what the Department of Government Efficiency will hopefully hold these people accountable and make sense where
and by the way, while
going.
you're saying this, you know these list of ridiculous and insane things that USAID spends your money on?
Yeah.
Rob, I'm going to text you this clip by Ben Bernanke. I want you to play in a minute here, but I want to read through this to you. Millions of taxpayer dollars were spent on controversial projects worldwide, including $7.9 million to teach Sri Lankan journalists how to avoid binary gender language. Number two, $4.5 million to
who hasn't been calling for that?
That's right. $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan.
Yes.
$2 million for sex changes and LGBTQ activism in Guatemala.
Thank God. We're fixed now.
$2.1 million to help the BBC value the diversity of Libyan society.
Now I can sleep good at night.
$10 million.
BBC is in British Broadcasting Corp.
$10 million worth of USAID funded meals ended up with an Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group.
Yes.
$6 million for tourism in Egypt. $5 million to EcoHealth Alliance, which helped fund bat virus reached at the Wuhan lab. $1.5 million to an Armenian LGBT group.
That's what matters. That's what matters.
That one we can
I'm
let
not
slide
even
a little
supporting
bit.
it.
Forget about
Let's let that one slide a little bit.
Forget about the Armenian genocide that's going on.
We got to touch LGBT.
Don't worry about the
$1.5 million to the LGBT advocacy in Jamaica. $2 million to promote LGBT equity in Latin America through entrepreneurship. $2.3 million for artisanal and small-scale gold mining in the Amazon.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
Me neither.
$5.5 million for LGBT activism in Uganda. This is where the money is going. But this is why people are so annoyed. I want you to watch this clip. This is from 08-09, okay? 09. Ben Bernanke is being asked about where $500 billion of money went to. This was shared to me by Brandon. Play this clip, watch the way he answers and just watch his body language and tell me if you believe him.
What's
Go
his
ahead,
job
Rob.
title? But Pat, what was he
the
back
chairman of the Fed.
The Fed. He was the head of the Fed.
No, this guy was like the previous
Alan
Jerome
Greenspan.
Powell.
Yeah,
The younger people. Well, the younger people don't know because they don't know.
Play this clip. Go for it.
Who got the money?
To financial institutions in Europe and other countries?
Which ones?
I don't know.
$500 billion.
$500 billion, and you don't know who got the money?
The loan went to the loans go to the central banks, and they then put them out to their institutions to try to bring down short-term interest rates in dollar markets around the world.
Well, let's start with which central banks got the money.
There are 14 of them, which are listed in our. I'm sure they're listed in here somewhere.
All right. So who
Watch.
actually made that decision to hand out $1 trillion that way? $500 billion. Who made that decision?
The Federal Open Market Committee.
Okay. And was it done at one time or in a series of meetings?
A series of meetings.
And under what legal authority?
We have a long-standing legal authority to do swaps with other central banks.
Do you happen to know anything?
It's not an emergency authority of any kind.
Anything specific about it?
Yeah, it's his lawyer.
Do you know the?
Anybody?
My counsel says Section 14 of the Federal Reserve Act.
Tom, thoughts on this?
It's amazing that such a massive. By the way, does anybody remember how much TARP was? What was TARP?
$787 billion.
Okay, so we're talking about a number that is 75% of TARP. And TARP, we agonized over it, and who's getting it, and is everybody going to pay it back? And I guess Ford didn't take it. There were islands in the stream of companies that didn't do it. And we were so concerned about all that TARP money. And he is casually talking about, we gave it to the central banks. Central banks give it to their banks. $500 billion. And him, it shows how big the dollars are at the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, and how big the world economy are, but also how blasé our number one leader is about it and not knowing it. How can you not know? Well, it was $500 million, and that was a really tough time because this is 2009, and I think all you good people know that last year, 2008, was a suck of a year. And so it went this much this much went here, this much went here, because of the contagion that was the collapse in the U.S. spread over to those banks, and so we needed to give them liquidity, and here's the top 5.
And this is just the beginning of it.
Don't you want a guy to say that?
We tracked this about 4 years ago. There's about $3-4 trillion that did just that, just disappeared from the United States. The scary thing is, this is where we get war. This is when the entire world is destabilized. Bessent said just this weekend, he said, Elon Musk is going in and he's going to make recommendations. He's not making changes. He's making recommendations. We did this in the 70s. We did this in the 90s, and nothing happened. He said, so we're going to get his recommendations, and I don't make the decision. This Secretary of Treasury, I don't make the decision. Me expecting him to say, the president and I will make the decision. No. We will give these recommendations to the Federal Reserve, and they will make the decisions. Excuse me? So when Elon Musk said, we've got to audit the Fed, when you get to the Central Bank of the United States and they try to get in there, that's when you're going to see the entire world destabilized, because that thing is a black hole. A black hole.
I think this is just inevitably needed. I mean, when you ask the common person and they say, I pay taxes, I made $300,000 this year, I made $100,000 this year, I made $500,000 this year, I made $50,000 this year. Where do all my taxes go? You go look at your paycheck and it has your, Social Security, you have a Medicare, you have Medicaid, you have all these employee tax payroll. You're like, what's happening right now? So then, accountability is a hell of a drug. And when you start asking these questions, what happened to $500 billion? He's just like, I don't know. What my lawyer said, according to Section 472,
but you know what?
I don't really know.
But that's also the reason why America is excited about DOGE.
Yes.
That's why. It's
Yes.
very simple. America just wants to know, where is my money going? And you talk about team of rivals. You know what it makes me think about? Why it's possible for the $3 trillion to be gone. If there's such a thing as team of rivals, there has to be such a thing as team of criminals.
Yes.
Where they protect each other and it's like, hey, how much you got? Okay, cool. All right, good. Good for you, my brother. Okay, I'm going to go. How much you got? Okay. Guys, yes. So this is, look, sometimes it happens and, but we're going to have to move on, and to see what's in the bill, you have to pass it first to find out exactly what we're spending money, and trust the politicians that they have the best interest in you. And we're like,
exposing
no.
those people is Jason Bourne stuff. That's when you get the most powerful people with all this money saying, not me, not me, cause a distraction. That's when you start to have wars.
And that's the problem, Glenn, I think. Sorry, Adam. I think that's the problem of why this guy has been such a threat to them.
Yes.
No wonder why they tried to shoot him. No wonder why they're trying to destroy him. It just hasn't stopped, because now he's in. He's pulled back the current. And Glenn, and now we're going transgender Guatemala. What the what?
So listen to this though. We're still framing this incorrectly. People are saying, "Where did my tax money go?"
Yeah.
You will work your entire life. You will struggle to make your taxes, to be able to go to the grocery store, because you're paying your fair share.
Yeah.
All of your money will not pay for the LGBTQ advancement in Uganda. Everything you've paid your entire life will not pay for that one program. What the hell?
Yeah.
You say we're here and I'm getting Social Security tax taken out. Then I have to pay my income tax. They're spending not only the income tax, they're spending more than the income tax, and they've spent your Social Security money as well.
Yeah.
They're leaving you penniless. For what? Not Ugandans. They're doing it for the NGOs and the power.
Yep.
Exactly.
And not even the NGOs as well. I mean, look at the Department of Defense. So, I mean, I think, Robert, I sent you that clip, the conversation that Jon Stewart had with, I think, the deputy secretary of the...
This is not new.
Yeah.
Okay, but the point is, this is the problem.
Yeah, you can play this clip, but play the clip. This is older. And Rob, if you can get the date so we can tell the audience when this is from, we'll go for it.
2 summers ago.
Like, there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits and waste, fraud, and abuse are not the same thing. So let's decompose these
please
pieces
educate me on
Sure.
what
So an
the
audit is
difference
exactly what you just described,
Yes.
which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit or the fact that the DOD has not passed an audit is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false right there.
Because we didn't pass the audit.
So what is
now
it
it's a question of, it's suggestive that we don't have an accurate inventory that we can pull up
Line by
of
line.
what we have where.
Watch her laugh. Watch this
That
laugh.
is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
Ready for the
so
laugh?
in my world,
Yeah.
Yep.
that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you
Well,
are
we didn't
not
necessarily-
responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? And when there has been reporting, I mean, this is not, look, I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this, but I think it's a tough argument to
I'm pretty
make
sure I
that
didn't cause it.
an $850 billion
so funny.
budget
What's
to
funny?
an organization.
You can pause
that
it,
can't
Rob.
pa-
It's disturbing to listen to it. Like, what's funny about
This is the best thing that can happen that Donald Trump can do. Right now, you're going after USAID. And so all the liberals are saying, oh my gosh, you're going to stop feeding children.
Yeah.
What are they going to say when the conservatives go into the Pentagon and say, look at the billions
Bingo.
of dollars?
Yeah.
You have nothing to say. You
wanna
have nothing to
stop
say.
funding
We're
foreign
supposed
wars
to
and
be
all this?
we're
Yeah.
supposed to be the
Yeah.
war hawks. I don't want any waste, any abuse.
Thank you.
And no bribery.
Yeah, and
nothing. None of it.
Well, you know what drives me crazy though, because we had Chris Cuomo, who we love Chris, and he was here. Their attitude is, the Democrats' attitude is like, yeah, but it's a 1%. I'll go, I don't give a shit.
I don't
how
care.
percent? It's billions and billions. It's like with the border. If one American girl gets raped and murdered by an illegal, that's too much. I don't want $1 going anywhere for anybody else. It's America first.
If this was happening at your church, the federal government would be all over that church saying they're wasting your money, there's graft, and that church could stand up and say it's only 1 or 2%. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and by the way, that
church,
clip was from April 6, 2023. So
Okay.
exactly
So
2 summers ago.
So not even your church. How about your household? So I do a lot of personal finance consulting on Monect. By the way, download Monect. And I always start when people say, I want to get better at investing. I want to understand how to save more. I want to understand what I'm doing. I go, all right, step 1, we're going to do a budget. I was like, how often do you do a budget? Not often, Adam. All right, well, 2/3 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and it just so happens that 2/3 of Americans don't do a budget every month. All right, here we go. What's your rent? What's your transportation? What's your F&B? Oh, so you make $100,000 a year. Your rent's only $1,200. Where's all your money going? There's 40 grand missing in your budget. That's not like 400. Well, I do eat out a lot, and I went on a bunch of vacations this year. I'm like, there's all this money is unaccounted for, and you're wondering why you don't have money to invest.
The way she put it, the way she paints it is, well, that's a person making $50,000 or $100,000 a year. Adam, we're dealing with an $850 billion budget. Stop it. I mean, for us to be able to tell you exactly what we're doing, it's not even possible. So you guys live in your small little life while we live at this high level. And we went to the school, to like real good schools. So who are you to even say who we are?
And then my counter argument would be, listen, woman, that's even more so to make sure that we're not missing a zero and sending 50 million instead of 50 billion.
You're so dramatic. Knock it off.
You know what? That's
what they would say.
Guys, we have $40 trillion in debt. We have a $2 trillion deficit every year. Just don't worry about it.
Look at $200 billion going to Ukraine. We now know that about 30% of that actually made it to the front lines. We know this. We've been exposing this for a long time. It takes... You got to give 10% to this guy to get to this guy.
10%
then
of the big
10%
guy.
of this guy to this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and then it gets to the front lines. We now know that they are selling some of those arms to the border cartels. Jeez. Okay? That's why this matters. That's why we should have known exactly where every dollar goes.
Well, let's go to, while you're talking about that, Chelsea Clinton was accused of getting paid $84 million, Rob, if I'm not mistaken, right? There was $84 million that went to the family. I don't even know what page it's on. And she comes out.
Didn't go to the family. Went to the
foundation.
The foundation.
Right. Went to the foundation from USAID.
Yes.
Is this, if you go a little lower on this story with Hillary Clinton, Chelsea Clinton, a claim circulated social media that Chelsea Clinton took home $84 million from USAID. Chelsea Clinton, daughter of Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. The USAID has recently come into focus because of President Trump's administration to dismantle, et cetera, et cetera. Go a little bit lower, Rob, to see what the number is. And at the center of it was Chelsea Clinton. A chart going around from data Republicans showed how much money flowed into different organizations to a box labeled Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton. Gross receipts totaling $84.624 million.
Jeez.
And Rob,
be careful. Be careful on this is the problem. And as conservatives that are for all of this stuff, cutting and finding the graft, we have to be very careful. What people are getting from this is, we paid $3 million for her wedding. We don't know that. We do not know that. What we do know is that $84 million went to the Clinton initiative. How they then spent that, I don't think we have the goods on it yet. I haven't seen the paper.
I totally get it. All I'm saying to you is I'm showing you this, and then I'm showing you how she responded. So then she responded, lies and conspiracies about my family and me are nothing new. Still, I'm particularly troubled by the absurd claim that the continue to pervade social media this week. Fact checks being damned fact. I'm proud the Clinton Foundation has helped tens of millions of people worldwide.
Have they?
Like in
Our
Haiti?
impact speaks for itself. I don't take a cent from the foundation. Never have. In fact, my family personally contributes meaningfully to our work each year. Misinformation isn't just noise. It's a weapon. Efforts to undermine good work won't stop us, and we stand in solidarity with those who are committed to the truth, public health, progress, and the endless potential of our future. Glenn.
As somebody who runs a charity, I can tell you that I know where every single penny goes. We do 2 audits a year because it's got my name on it. If a dollar goes to the wrong place, I'm done. So we audit and audit and audit, and the first thing I ask every time, can you tell me where every dollar is going? Do you know where every dollar is being spent? I'd be doomed by the federal government, as I should be, if I'm a charity and I can't answer every single question. When are we going to see the Clinton initiative truly audited? When are we going to see these NGOs truly audited and know where every penny goes?
I think that's what a lot of American people want.
Exactly.
That's what they're questioning.
And they want
wanna
jail
know,
time
okay,
if you broke the law.
Sure. They want to say, if you did anything wrong with the money that you and your parents have been raising for decades, guess what? Let's hold you accountable. But if you're claiming you're noble and the money's gone to the right people and you've helped change so many people's lives, show it. Let's recognize you. Yeah, go on and show. There's nothing wrong with that.
And I'm totally fine.
Right.
I want Republicans to go to jail if they've been stealing money.
Yeah.
I want Democrats and independents. I don't want corruption. No American should be for any of this.
Well, let's
straight to jail.
Let's talk about this next story that I'm really curious to know where you guys are going to go with this. Page 15 is Anthony Fauci.
Oh, doctor.
Under investigation by state AGs. This is an Outkick story. 19 state attorney generals, led by South Carolina AG Alan Wilson, sent a letter to Congress stating their intent to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci accountable at the state level despite President Joe Biden's preemptive pardon. The letter says, although former President Biden attempted to shield potential bad actors like Dr. Anthony Fauci from accountability via preemptive pardon, we are confident that state laws may provide a means to hold actors accountable for their misconduct. They requested that Congress share any findings of violations of state laws so they can evaluate state-level courses of action. The AGs accused Fauci of suppressing discussions about the lab leak theory and misleading the public on COVID vaccine risk, which they say contributed to an erosion of trust in health institutions. They wrote, Dr. Fauci led a deliberate campaign to stifle the voices of premier health scholars regarding the lack of adequate testing of vaccines, which kept the public from knowing about risks like myocarditis and pericarditis among young adult males, the verified increased risk of blood clots in women, and the long-term effects vaccines had on fertility. Glenn, will anything happen to Fauci?
Yes. And I did not believe this. I mean, a year into it, I did a 2-night special on just the stuff that we could find in public spaces that showed the smoking guns everywhere. Now we have the actual data. Now we have a preponderance of evidence, and he's backdated it to 2014 for very specific reasons. This guy has been breaking the law and becoming his own god, and he has to go to jail. And I never thought he would, but under Trump, it's not going to be vengeance. It's not going to be, repaying his enemies. They are looking for the truth between Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Bhattacharya. They're going to unravel this thing, and he's going to jail. And it will be because of the states. They have a right and a duty to do it.
Vinny.
I'm Glenn, I have a list of the top 3 people that I just despise. As hard as it is being a Christian and trying to pray, and I actually have to pray for these people. Yeah. That's the hardest thing I think about being a Christian. Yeah. I have to pray that they get their souls intact, because at one point they're going to be judged. But he's at the top, and Alejandro Mayorkas have always been at the top, and Pat knows this. He pushed these lies, and I saw a meme. Imagine getting medical advice from a doctor that needs a pardon for the medical advice that he gave you.
Yes.
That's why all these freaking Democrats, all these people, but do you remember, Glenn, they would put those pictures of him in front of their lawns? Like they would worship this demon.
He was the golden calf.
He was the golden calf. And people are like, well, Trump was, he's been around for 7 presidents? But while this is all going on, Pat, DOGE announced, and Elon, that in the past 48 hours, HHS canceled 62 contracts worth $182 million, and one of them was, ready for spending, $168,000 contract for an Anthony Fauci exhibit at the NIH museum. They're like,
he's a god.
Put that, that's going down. And then the one more thing that I saw, it was Lauren Boebert was having a House Oversight Committee hearing, and they questioned Justin Goodman. He's a senior vice president at the White Coat Waste Project, about the National Institute NIH funding research that involves, they were implanting tissue from aborted fetuses into lab animals, so abortions, that's why they're so pro-abortion. He confirmed that such studies have been funded by the NIH, specifically mentioning Dr. Fauci's NIH allergy and infectious disease. That's
He's
what
a
he
monster.
was doing. That's what he was doing. Pat, you want to hear this clip?
Yeah, of course.
This is it.
Implant aborted baby parts into lab animals. Have you heard of that sort of research?
Yeah, we did an analysis a few years ago showing that over 90% of experiments with using human fetal tissue and putting them involved animals were funded by Fauci's NIAID.
Do you know where they're getting the aborted human fetal tissue?
Universities?
A lot of it is happening at colleges and universities that have affiliated hospitals that perform that
pro-abortion, kill your
Madam
babies,
Chair,
because
I
guess
think we
what?
need
We
to
need
look
to
into
use
that
them
as
for
well.
experiments on animals.
And what is and honestly, when you look at Fauci and what he was starting to do in 2014, what he really started it with Dick Cheney right after 9/11, almost all of these, there is no medical reason to do these experiments. They have not made medicine better. They're not making us safer. In fact, the opposite. They are making things much, much more dangerous in the world. Where is the medical evidence that any of this was good and useful? You can't even make that argument.
Zero. And the only comfort that I could have, Glenn, and I was thinking about this yesterday, for the rest, because they took away his security detail. He's finished. He has to pay for his own security, which is good. For the rest of his life, Glenn, anytime he looks out of a window or he's outside in public, he's always going to be like this. At least I have that comfort, because how many people's lives he ruined, how many kids' lives have been ruined, and how many people freaking died that they couldn't go to their grandfathers' and grandparents' funerals because that scumbag knowingly knew what he was doing.
Well, I hope that nothing happens to him except he goes to jail.
No, I want him in prison for the rest of his life, but he's going to be nervous everywhere he goes for the rest of his life.
Well,
Tom.
Yeah, when everybody on social media that says, oh, he was pardoned. Well, let me give you a constitutional lesson. No offense. Article 2 of the Constitution points out that the president can grant reprieves and pardons for crimes against the United States. And there are multiple precedents where the state attorney generals banded together. They banded together against Google and price fixing until it was taken up to the Southern District of New York by the federal government. So the states have the purview and the ability, as well as to work in parallel. Really, Vinny, so you're in Arizona, I'm in New Mexico, and we have a hoodlum who's committed crimes in both and says, wait a minute, our indictment is word for word the same as your indictment. Tell you what, we'll wait for you, but as soon as you're done, then we're going to try them here. I'll give you an example. You have the hashtag Me Too. Harvey Weinstein. He was tried where? In New York. And who stood down and waited for the New York case? California. But as soon as it was done, who had to have his old wrinkled butt put on a plane and went to trial in California?
Harvey.
Guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, that's what you're seeing. And I just wanted to back up a little bit because there's a lot of comments that are happening and there's a lot of stuff on social media. Biden pardoned him. No, not against state crimes. And you've seen it with Weinstein. And that's what we're going to see here.
I'm just going to sort of be the rain on this Fauci going to jail parade. The chances, I think, of Anthony Fauci going to jail are less than 1%. Why would I think that? Who the hell we've ever seen go to jail for something like this?
Who the hell's ever seen what we've seen in the last 21 days?
Sure, I understand.
Yeah, very good
However,
point.
they just came out 2 weeks ago and they said, yeah, by the way, breaking news, straight up, it did come from a lab leak.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened. China, but we're about to have the 5-year anniversary of COVID, like in a couple weeks. 5-year anniversary. Has China paid anything? Have we had any accountability?
Look at Missouri. The Missouri AG just sued China. China didn't even show up to defend itself.
Respect to the great state of Missouri.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, suing
they
China.
are suing him.
Okay, good.
They're suing China for billions and billions of dollars, which means if they win this case, they can just take all the Chinese land out of America.
That's a big if. Who knows? I'm rooting for America here now, guys. However, I just don't see any accountability here. By the way, throwing Fauci in jail. Fauci's 185 years old. How old is Fauci? 85?
Look good. Let him die in jail.
Okay, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think he's going to just rot in prison for about 6 months?
I hope so.
84 years old.
Yeah, he deserves it. That's what Adam. That's what I want. Is accountability.
I'm not saying that he does or he doesn't. What I'm saying is the likelihood of Fauci spending the rest of his life in jail, knowing what we know, I just don't see it. I don't see it happening.
Knowing what, I would absolutely agree with you. Before January 18th of this year, I would have absolutely agreed with you. But what happened when the president was elected? You are in a new reality. New reality. We have yet to see it pay off with somebody going to jail. But I know Kash Patel. I know Pam Bondi. These guys are not going to screw around. They're not. Donald Trump is not going to screw around. I've never seen a president. Do you know he made sticky notes every time he went off a stage and he had a promise that he made? He wrote it on a sticky note, and he put those all on a wall. And then when he was elected, he went through and said, this one. He's just checking them all off. He's going to do it.
Has Trump made any public comments recently about Fauci at all?
I don't think he has time. He's not even worried about it. He's going to let them deal with it. He's going to let.
You don't
Kash
think?
Patel
Listen,
think Trump
let me
has
tell you
time
what's the
to handle
biggest
it?
comment. You know what's the biggest comment he's
that,
made?
sir?
The biggest comment he's made is, my recommendation for who should run the Department of HHS is Bobby Kennedy. That's the biggest comment. Do you know who in America has investigated Fauci more than RFK? Nobody.
Yep.
Can you imagine out of all the people that are going to go after you is the guy that wrote a book that sold millions of copies. He puts him in charge to go after you. Yeah, I mean, he's like, yeah, to write a book that technical, the way he broke down whatever, LZT, AIDS, all this stuff, the history of it, he needs to do this job. Go see if there's, the only thing I care about is this. Fauci is still someone's father, he's someone's grandfather. Fauci is still someone's son, someone's nephew, someone's, all of that. Fauci is someone's family that loves the guy, right? Totally fine. If he committed a crime, if he manipulated people the way I'm convinced that he did,
yes,
destroyed kids' lives, Your mom, your dad dies. You can't go hug them or see them. He said Thanksgiving to not be around your family and stay away from your elderly. The only thing somebody in their 70s and 80s has left is company. It's the only thing they care about. They don't want money. They don't want a car. They don't want fancy food. They don't care about any of that stuff. All they care about is, can you just have lunch with me? Can you just have dinner with me? Can you just come and let me tell you a few stories about back in the days? Can I sit down with me a little bit and just tell me you care about me? That's all. How many people did he take that away from? Yeah, bro, let me tell you, that's personal. How many restaurants shut down because everybody was listening to this, and your grandfather started a restaurant out of hard work? Him and a grandmother built a restaurant that was passed down to your father, and now you're running it, and that was shut down because of COVID policies? No, bro, this is so deeply personal to people that those people have not forgotten. If he did anything, we find out when they investigate, I expect 100% level of accountability.
And this kind of action is why Trump would get a third term, because they would see, wow, we're a completely different nation. He takes this stuff seriously, and he answers to us. He feels like us. He answers to us. That's the kind of stuff, when you throw out those seeds on a third term, that people will stand up and go, look at the people he just put in jail.
Yeah.
Look at the case they just made. He's cleaning it up.
Yeah.
Give him another 4 years.
Let's go to the next one. Trump says Hamas should free all hostages by midday Saturday or let hell break out. Rob, if you got the clip, play this clip, and then I'll finish the story here. So he makes this announcement. I want to say, what is it? This is yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. President Trump issues an ultimatum to Hamas stating, as far as I'm... Is this it, Rob?
Yes, sir.
Play the clip.
Well, I would say this, and I'm going to let that because that's Israel's decision. But as far as I'm concerned, if all of the hostages aren't returned by Saturday at 12 o'clock, I think it's an appropriate time. I would say cancel it and all bets are off and let hell break out. I'd say they ought to be returned by 12 o'clock on Saturday, and if they're not returned, all of them, not in drips and drabs, not 2 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 2. Saturday at 12 o'clock, and after that, I would say all hell is going to break out.
Now, let me read this to you. Hamas says it's delaying next hostage release, claiming ceasefire violations. Hamas announced it would delay the next hostage release, accusing Israel of violating the ceasefire by preventing displaced Palestinians from returning to northern Gaza, targeting civilians, and restricting aid. Hamas spokesperson Abu Obeida stated the release of the Zionist prisoners next Saturday, February 15, 2025, will be postponed until further notice and until the occupation commits to and provides compensation for the entitlements of the past weeks. Retroactively, Israel has denied violating the ceasefire, and Israeli defense minister Israel Katz calls Hamas' move a blatant violation of ceasefire agreements. The ceasefire, which began last month, has so far resulted in 5 hostage prisoner swaps, freeing 21 Israeli hostages in exchange for 730 Palestinian prisoners. The next scheduled swap was set to release 3 more Israeli hostages in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. Glenn, what do you think is going to happen here?
You know, I always wanted a president with a twitchy eye. I've always wanted one that, you know, like in the Westerns, you're like, that son of a bitch just might kill all of us. You know what I mean? When you have a president with a twitchy eye, you listen. And he does not make threats. He makes promises. Do this, or this will happen. Do this, and I will do this. That's a promise. And unlike most presidents that draw this a hard red line, and then you get to Sunday and nothing's happened, his hard red line, I think all hell's going to break loose. I think all hell's going to break loose. Now, whether Israel is just supported by us in doing it, or if we do it, I don't know.
Vinny.
I mean, as a hostage, that is the last thing that you want to hear is an ultimatum. Because think about it, these are terrorists. We don't negotiate with them. And by the way, I know this for a fact. We know exactly where they are. We know exactly, who's holding them. We're the United States military with Israel. They know all the freaking details. And I'm just curious as to what. Because think about it, Glenn. If we're all terrorists and we have Tom and Rob as hostages. If you hear that threat, if you hear that by noon, and their attitude to me is that they're not going to back down, you know that once the breach comes in, these two are going to die just like that. These are terrorists that they believe that Allah is going to have them and they're going to be virgins in heaven. That is the worst thing I think that could do, because that's going to lead to they're done. If you attack, those terrorists are finished.
The terrorists or the hostages?
I'm saying,
Yeah,
I'm
the
sorry,
hostages.
everybody, hostages, 100%.
Yeah.
And mind you, my heart goes out with my kid. I'm only imagining. We saw the release the other day, Tom. You mentioned this. There was 2 separate releases. The first group seemed like they were kind of healthy, and
The 4 female Israeli soldiers.
yeah, and then they look frail.
They looked like they were in good shape. And yesterday, the day before yesterday, but yesterday news stories came out, and you saw the condition of these. I think these were men in like their 50s who should not have looked like that. They really looked malnourished. They looked bad, and they were not jumping around.
Yeah.
So the question is, as a president, you have to look at all of it, but you also have to say, should we have bombed Auschwitz? We would have killed a lot of prisoners, but we would have stopped them from doing that. I think you get to a point where you've negotiated, which I'm not a fan of,
Me
but
neither.
okay, we got some people out. At some point, the president has to make that callous decision of, these guys are bad, they're abusing these people, and it's got to stop. Because if we continue to play footsie with them, they'll only grow. Kill them all.
Yep. No, I agree.
Adam.
I just feel bad.
Well, there's a famous phrase, F around and find out. And Trump has been basically warning Hamas, oh, you want to F around? Well, you're going to find out what I say I'm going to do. So I don't know what's going to happen exactly. I think he's giving them until Saturday. But Trump's made a lot of promises before. He said, before I even before I even take office, we're going to do all this. We're about to see. So at least
We're about to see. What do you mean? His threats he delivers. You don't remember Qassem Soleimani?
No, I'm with you, but he has till Saturday. Today's Tuesday.
They have Saturday till noon.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
He doesn't have till Saturday. They have till Saturday.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is this. I haven't never heard not one Palestinian give a good plan. Give me a good plan. Give me a plan. Show me something. All I hear is chants of river to the sea, Palestine will be free. What does that even mean? Show me a plan. At least Trump's bombastic, ridiculous Taj Mahal Gaza Strip casino thing is better than whatever they're proposing. So the alternatives to the plan, all right, so what does Trump want to get done? He wants to get the Abraham Accords finished. He wants to get normalization between Saudi and Israel. Israel's already signed normalization and peace agreements with a handful of Middle Eastern countries. We're seeing stories come out that basically the Iran threats were actually realer than they actually were perceived to be. You're seeing these stories right there.
Oh, yeah.
He knows who the head of the snake or the head of the octopus is in the Middle East, and it's Iran, and so does Saudi, by the way. So we're going to see what happens on Saturday. However, Saudi's going to have to come to the table. The Emirates are going to have to come to the table. Egypt's going to have to come to the table. King Jordan, by the way, people don't understand. King Jordan, you can pull up that article in the Wall Street Journal. King Jordan, by the way, to my Arab friends out there, Muslim friends, there's a couple different neighbors Israel has. Egypt on one side, Jordan on another. Why doesn't Egypt want any of the Palestinians?
Nor does Egypt.
Not one, bro?
Nor does Saudi
How
Arabia.
about Jordan? Hey, take a couple of these guys. Not one? The king of Jordan, if you pull up that article right there. Trump wants Jordan's help with Gaza. The king is basically saying, nah, I'm good. What are you talking about?
Didn't the Palestinians, 80 to 120 years come out of Jordan?
Well, there was a country called Transjordan at one point, and basically Yasser Arafat tried to basically overthrow the king of Jordan, I believe in the 70s or 80s, right?
That's why they don't
and
want
they basically were like, yeah, we don't want you. By the way, the people of Lebanon are like, no, we're good. Syria doesn't want. All right,
because there's always a revolution.
Okay, so if you're the people of Gaza, what's your alternative? You can't stay in the area that is basically a parking lot. We got to figure something out here, because what's a definition of crazy? Doing the same thing over and over and over again. Every handful of years, they put a war together, they lose, they cry victim. Let's put them in a safe place where they can live in peace and prosperity.
But what do you think about the terrorist situation, Adam? What do you think about Trump saying, if this doesn't happen on Saturday, we're going in? What do you think about that specifically? Because I'm curious. Because how many are left? How many hostages
what do
are left?
you mean? What terrorist situation?
What do you mean?
The terrorists
Hamas
and
that are holding
the hostages.
Hamas is terrorists? I thought they were freedom fighters. What do you mean, Vinny?
Answer the question. What do you feel about that specific thing? Him saying you're a hostage and you're waiting there, and on Saturday at noon, they're coming in whether you like it or not.
Well, listen, whether it's the tariffs, whether it's this, whether it's Greenland,
Vinny,
whether it's Panama,
let me ask you a different
the
question.
art of the deal.
We lived in Iran.
Yeah.
We're in Tehran. Okay, Saddam says, we're going to attack you. How do you think our parents reacted? I know what my dad did. We got in the car,
And
4
left.
o'clock in the morning, we went to city of Karaj.
Yeah.
And if you want to type it on the map from Tehran to Karaj, type in how far is Tehran to Karaj. I'm sure you know how to
Rob,
spell
you
it.
know how to spell this, Rob.
How far is Tehran
He
to
just
Karaj?
he just typed in the word carrot.
J at
How
the
do you
end.
use what letter is
Karaj.
it?
J. How far is Tehran to Karaj?
Rob, it's not Cadillac.
3,000 miles.
Karaj could be with a Q.
This guy's using
No, it's
kilometers over here.
Karajan.
You got him using a metric system out here, Pat.
No, it's not it. Anyway,
By the way, type in Ahmadinejad real quick and just see if he's still hanging out there.
To Karaj. Let me.
Karajan?
Anyways, Karaj is 58
16
kilometers.
hours.
No, it's not, guys.
No.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at it
No,
right
it's
now.
not that
It's
far,
a
Adam.
58 kilometers is what it is, Tehran to Karaj. Anyways, we got in the car, we went there. What happened? Then they
36
started bombing
miles.
Tehran,
Okay.
and then he started bombing Karaj. Then from Karaj, we went to Bandar Pahlavi. Then Bandar Pahlavi is like northern. Then he started bombing Rasht. If you type in Rasht,
You got
type
this,
in
Rob.
That's 2 R's.
Rob, I believe in you, Rob. Power of positive thinking.
R-A-S-H-T.
He's got a summer
Iran.
place
Iran.
there. He knows how to spell it.
That's Rasht. Okay, so we went to Rasht.
Summer and
When
Rash.
we went to Bandar Pahlavi, he bombed Rasht. So meaning, for people that are seeing Trump say that,
Yeah.
and you got wife and kids, and you don't support the Hamas, but you're there, guess what? No, I'm talking about the families living in Gaza.
Yeah.
And you're worried about them, they have to get out. Now, for the hostages that we have, that they're going to go and attack, you don't think now that Hexet is there training with the guys early in the morning and the relationships that they have, you don't think they already have a team ready to go in there to?
Oh, yeah.
So Trump's not going to tell you what does all hell, in your mind when he says all hell will break loose, you're thinking missiles and bombs and all that stuff. No. When he's saying all hell's going to break loose, that means whoever the top head honchos, the leaders are, you're about to meet your maker. Whether the 72,
Virgins
are going to be there or
yeah.
not, I don't know. But you know what? You're going to find out here soon or not.
I'm pretty sure not.
Well,
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
think
listen, that's the promise. So everybody has a promise that they're banking on the faith, and only one of them is going to end up being right. We'll see which one it is. But the reality of it is that's what that means. But what is the alternative? So let's flip it. So he doesn't do that. Is it to do this? Guys, please send them because they need to meet their families.
It's not him.
Be noble and send them. We don't want to fight because please, what would you like him to do?
No,
Exactly. It's
No,
like Team America and Hans Bricks.
No, my point that I was going is like, first of all, where are the hostages? Where are they located?
They know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're not. I don't think they're in Gaza, are they?
No, but what
they
I'm
have
saying
them
is
somewhere.
they know, bro.
Oh, of course they do.
Trump's camp knows
For sure.
where they're at. All they're doing is they want to make sure this is a public, you release them, similar to how Iran did with Reagan moments after he became, and they had those folks for how many days? 444 days, whatever the date is
Over
that
a
they
year,
had.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to see. Saturday between
But
now
we
and
may go in and all of them die anyway.
it could happen as
It
well.
could
That's an
happen.
Which
option.
I'm saying, I don't want to wait.
I think
I'm about
that's the last option.
Yeah.
But there's a possibility that could take place as well. I don't think Trump's going to take that option. I think he's going to take a different option. Let's go to the next story. The next story I got here is a business story with PWC. Consulting giant PWC, whom we've worked with many times, discourages white Asian students from applying to career programs. White and Asian. I'm glad it didn't say Assyrian, but it does say white and Asian. Let me read this to you. Okay. PwC's career preview, a 3-day summer seminar in Orlando, explicitly excludes white and Asian students from applying, stating applicants must self-identify as a member of traditionally underrepresented group in the professional services industry, Black or Latino, Hispanic. Another PwC program, Start Experience, encourages a range of racial backgrounds that excludes Caucasian people and East Asians with eligibility prioritizing Black and African American, Hispanic, or Latinx, American Indian, or Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander or two or more races, protected veterans, individuals with disabilities, and or first-generation college students, which is DEI. PwC has defended its DEI strategy, stating on its website that it is grounded in data and accountability. Knock it off. Supports measurable programs and helps create an environment where everyone feels valued and empowered. Tom.
In her quote, the word feels is the core of Democrat and DEI outrage. It's how I feel. I feel this isn't fair. I feel this. And they say it's grounded in data. Okay, so they've done a census of who's what race in their company, and they have to.
You know what it says when it's grounded in data? They gave McKinsey $500,000. That's what that means.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is horrifying because basically this is supposed to be a career preview for everyone except you and you. May I tell you the irony of this? The irony of this is Gavin Newsom, who's having a lot of problems in California, because you notice he's been kind of quiet for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
have you noticed
he ran
that?
out of gel.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that have been going on that he's been, like the insurance and stuff we talked about. Well, guess what? UCLA and UC Berkeley were sued as part of a class act that claims UC. Now remember, UC, it's a UC system. We're not talking Stanford. We're not talking USC. Why is that important? Because those are private schools. Mm-hmm. We're talking the UC system, your tax dollars. UCLA, UC Berkeley, and they were specifically excluding, wait for it, Caucasians and Asians from their admission quotas. There you go. And so you see that is now a lawsuit coming down that's going to be at the federal level soon, where the people in California are saying, wait, you're using our money and yet for the UC system, and yet you're excluding part of the citizens that are paying taxes for that? Sorry, that doesn't work. And what you have now in here, now you've got a public company that and by the way, we are under their thumb because they're doing something right now that is really a pain in the neck to us, and we think it's wrong-headed. But we look at this, and now you see career preview, but not if you're white or you're Asian. This is exactly what the opposite of merit is all about. They're responding to a mob that says,
what a terrible timing, though.
Exactly.
It's double dumb.
It's double dumb at a time where California has this is a giant lawsuits coming down after the Department of Justice 3 years ago got after Yale for depreferencing, wait for it, Asians and Caucasians. Department of Justice went after that in the Biden administration. Now, you know it's got to be bad when under the Biden administration, the Department of Justice actually walked 2 steps across the street to go after Yale. And the timing of this is terrible. This is just it's a horrible program. It's a horrible look, and it spits on merit. And by the way, we're supposed to trust you to do quality of earnings reports and do audits on our companies, and you're not worried about merit? Let me tell you, I'm going to say something here. I'm not going to name names. Over the last 3 weeks, there was a flub that was done by a vendor that Pat and I know about, a very big financial vendor, resulting in big fines that came from the IRS. And the organizations that we know very well that were to be subject to the fines, guess what? The financial services company came back and said, sorry, we're going to pay the fines to the IRS for you. So these flubs happen with good people. And now they're absolutely spitting on merit? Really?
Glenn.
I think this is rich coming from you guys. I'm sitting at can you take a wide shot of the room, please? Notice there's only one black chair and no yellow chairs or red chairs.
So racist.
I'm out.
No,
that's all I have to say.
I fully agree.
That's all I have to
Glenn,
say.
I understand.
We knew that was coming.
As the only black guy in the room.
I knew it.
Glenn,
I knew
that was coming.
Let me actually use a metaphor here because this is a business consulting Big Four tax
Brace
firm.
for impact, folks.
PWC.
Here it comes.
So imagine they say that sports is the last bastion of anti-DEI and a meritocracy.
Yeah.
So imagine you're a basketball team. You're doing open tryouts. All right, guys, open tryouts for the Miami Heat going on this week. Excuse me, but no black people or tall people can apply for the job. So anyone else We're looking for you guys specifically, maybe a little Asian, maybe a Jeremy Lin type situation. By the way,
No Samoans.
No Samoans. I mean, they're not playing in the NBA. We're doing open tryouts for the New York Yankees. No Dominican players are allowed to play. No Venezuelans, no Cubans, because they're doing too good at the baseball. So just everybody else, sorry, Ichiro, you can't apply either. No Asians either. Okay. Soccer, yeah. Brazilians, you can't come. Argentinians, Colombians, no. It sounds so stupid because you're like, no, those are the best players. You want them there. That's exactly what. Why don't they want the Caucasians and the Asians to do the counting thing?
That's an insult.
Because they're pretty damn good
it's
at that.
almost an insult to be like, imagine you're in the room and there's no whites and Asians. It's a way of saying, hey, guys, we don't think you can ever beat them.
Yep.
But we care for you. You're more important to us than those guys that are more elite and smarter than
Those
you.
Asians that are good at
How-
counting.
but the crazy thing is, you don't even know that.
No.
Like, you don't even know that.
It's racist to
Because you
assume.
do that, it's an insult to everybody in the room. If you want to compete, who do you want to compete with? Beat out everybody. It's not about like, hey, let me get to know. It's so pathetic. But the part about this is this wouldn't have surprised. If I read the story 3 years ago, or even 2 years ago, or even a year ago, you would have reacted to it. Okay, well, that's da-da-da-da-da. DI doesn't work. No, DI does work. Now, with who's in, you want to double down? Are you sure? No problem. No problem. It's okay. Do it. Let's see what happens. Go ahead and do it. To impose a pathetic idea like this that we know did not work and divided America. Let's see how it does in the next 3 to 4 years. The market's going to talk. It's very simple.
Yeah.
You don't have to be upset about it. The market's going to tell us whether you're right or wrong. But take your time. Matter of fact, I suggest they keep this philosophy.
Yeah.
Stick to it.
Yeah.
Don't change it. Let's see what happens.
And Pat, you know how Tom talks about upstream, Tom, and then coming downstream. This
Yeah.
is on the upstream level, right? But you know what happens when this happens
Another
downstream?
metaphor.
Yeah, another metaphor where, the consequences are going to be because of these practices, because of people not being the most qualified. That's when you get White House press secretaries that are horrible because she's a DEI hire. That's why you have pilots and air traffic controllers that they have to fill the quota of certain races that aren't qualified. You're going to get surgeons, you're going to get military. That is the downstream problem of shit like this is going to happen. We're going to get the effects of that type of freaking attitude, that racism, which, by the way, I completely stopped being racist. But I started again during the Super Bowl because in the end zone they stopped the end
That's
racism.
true.
So I'm back, Glenn. I'm back to being racist.
But you're
because-
choosing love.
I'm
That's
choosing
good. You're
love.
choosing love.
But I'm still racist.
Okay.
I feel, you know who I feel bad for? Genuinely, I feel bad for my Asian friends. Because
Why?
everyone knows it's perfectly acceptable to be racist against white people these days. That's fine.
That's normal.
Guys,
That's not a big
whenever
deal.
I see Adam at dinner, I see 8 Asians around him.
Yeah,
That's all,
always,
It's a very,
always.
It's great.
I'm
But
eating
He's
sushi
a
off
P.F.
of
Chang.
them.
I totally
But show
see
me
it.
one time that somebody has come here with nothing. They're from some country that maybe is an enemy of ours. They don't really even speak the language, and in one generation, they're powerful and rich. Give me one example. Just one.
There's so many. Glenn.
Just one.
The Indians, the Asians.
Can anybody at this table relate?
The Jews.
Very hard.
Doesn't
It's a
happen.
It's a very difficult thing. It's anyways, you said Super
Canada
Bowl.
wasn't war torn.
Vinny, you said Super Bowl.
Yes,
Let's go
sir.
into the Super Bowl story. So Kendrick Lamar performs Drake's diss track, Not Like Us, at the Super Bowl halftime show. And he doesn't say with one big change. Rob, we can't show the clip because it's. Do you have anything to show? You can't show it, right?
I can show. The only thing that I can show from the Super Bowl is this commercial that was released.
Well, wait. We'll go to that, but let's stay on this here first. So, and then the one big change is Kendrick Lamar performed instead of rapping "Certified Lover Boy," "Certified Pedophiles," Lamar went silent at the word pedophile while still delivering other cutting lines, including "Say Drake, I hear you like 'em young. You better not ever go to cell block 1." Trying to strike a chord, and it's probably a minor. Anyways, he went at it, right? He did not hold back. However, then there was a scene with Serena Williams making a surprise cameo. Again, we can't show that. She was dancing, and I think she was doing a crip walk. And
I can show that to you guys if you guys haven't seen it, but we just won't show it. To
Yeah,
the
Rob,
audience.
I'd like to see that crip walk if you can, please.
Yeah, so she's doing a crip walk, which that's the one. And guys in the back, don't play it. But that's the crip walk, which, by the way, she's actually got it down pretty good. She knows what she's doing. Okay, so, and So that's that. And then story comes out about the fact that she is performing with Kendrick Lamar while Kendrick is dissing Drake, while Drake was her ex. I did not even know these guys dated. And then at the same time, afterwards, as he performed as a Grammy, one of this track, Not Like Us, after the show, Williams posted a video removing her costume and joking, "Oh, I did not crip walk like that at Wimbledon. I would have been fined." Her and joking, appearance paid tribute to the Compton, California roots, aligning with Lamar's performance. Fans saw Williams' cameo as an extra layer of shade towards Drake, with whom she has a complicated history. The leaked 100-gigabyte data dump in 2024 revealed that Drake's 2016 song Too Good was written about Williams, okay? And so if I ever learn anything this year, it's that none of us, not a single one of us, not even me, should ever pick a fight with Kendrick Lamar. And William has already taken a jab at Drake amid his feud with Lamar, saying this. Okay, then Stephen A. Smith comes out. Rob, if you have the Stephen A. Smith clip, Stephen A. Smith said the following about this exchange, and he does kind of make sense. Rob, if you want to play this clip with Stephen A., go for it.
Better like that.
But the Compton connection is the Compton. Yeah, RC, that's what I was just going to say. The Compton connection.
She's from Compton.
No,
Yeah.
we know.
Like
We know that.
Even if
Yeah.
too.
RC,
you and I both know. Even if she's not from Compton, everybody knows her and Drake were together at one point in time. And it seemed like everybody wanted to get their lick back on Drake.
RC's, what Stephen A. is saying, if he was in that situation and now he's married, he's not allowing none of that's happening.
Hold on, no.
That's what he said.
If I'm married and my wife is going to join trolling her ex, go back to his ass. Because clearly you don't belong with me. What you worried about him for and you with me?
I gotta get that lick back.
Go ahead, RC.
Vinny,
Stop
thoughts?
it.
Well, first of all, she's doing the crip walk. You know, her sister, Serena Williams' sister, in 2003 was in Compton, was shot and killed by a crip gangster drive-by, which was kind of weird. But going to my point,
Serena Williams' sister.
Serena,
Yeah, sister.
Yetunde Prince, the half-sister of Serena and Venus Williams, was tragically shot and killed on September 14, 2023 in Compton, California.
2003.
2003, my bad, by a crip gangster. So that was weird.
Robert Maxfield.
Yeah, I don't know about the Drake. I mean, the Drake and the pedophile situation and the beef and the conversation. My thing was, and Pat, we talked about it, I tweeted about it. If we're supposed to be, all inclusive and ending the racism and getting all that stuff, I didn't see one white performer during the entire performance of, and I get it. It's Compton and whatever. But you can't be preaching it if you're not doing it yourself. Inclusivity, you want to be that person. And then the ending, my question is the end racism in the end zone. That was just taken out for the Super Bowl. Is it coming back regular season?
Well, it's in the video games. When you play Madden, it shows in the video game and racism. Yeah.
And I honestly don't know one person that's like, hey, listen, I was I came in and I was racist. But after that touchdown, man, I had a black guy in my house for dinner last night. It doesn't work.
Why can't they make it say send fascism?
There you go, Tom.
Let's be equal.
Yeah.
So, when you're watching the Super Bowl, you're obviously hoping for a good game. Then you're hoping for awesome, funny, cutting-edge commercials. You're hoping for a great halftime performance. 0 for 3. The game sucked. I mean, the Eagles were up, 34-0 at one point. The commercials, I'm just waiting for a good one out here. Nope, fail. I'm like, all right, at least give me a halftime show that's worthy. Absolute dud. And I'm with people of all ages, colors, sizes. I was in the Bahamas for my buddy Chris's birthday. He has black
Happy
family,
40th.
white family. Yeah, Humphreys, happy 40th birthday. Black family, white family, this, that, the other. I asked, he was like the white dad, right? And, the friend of a friend, he's like, man, I'm just a fan of Jimmy Buffett, man. I want to take me away to Margaritaville. What the hell's going on around here? Mm-hmm. And it was just, and I love hip hop. I'm a I can tell you every single song. Absolute trash of a performance. And then he got off the stage looking like, oh my God, it was the best thing ever. Nobody cares. Talking about having to live up to the moment. Michael Jackson, U2, Rolling Stones, Beyonce. Last year, even Usher killed it.
Eminem and
last year they had the
Janet Jackson,
generations,
with,
right?
And Justin Timberlake showing a little free the nipple vibe. This was gonna probably go down as one of the worst halftime performances ever. By the way, you know how you make up for it? Next year, you know who needs to perform? Drake.
K-pop.
Because I can tell you this, Drake, the whole thing with the Super Bowl is you don't want to be like, I can't wait for that one song that everyone wants to hear. The whole concept is that you go banger, 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 bang. So every song, Drake could put out 10 hits like that. The fact that even Kendrick Lamar is somewhat even on Drake's level is actually laughable to me. So anyway,
Glenn.
F all around.
Yes. On this,
That's right.
The only thing I care about is the scandal of the pedophiles, and in the next 10 days, you're going to see the Epstein file released.
In the next 10 days.
Next 10 days.
Oh, please.
You think in the next 10 days the whole thing's going to be released?
Yeah.
And what kind of information do you have to be able to be that certain about it?
I plead the fifth.
In the next 10 days.
Next 10 days.
Oh,
Glenn,
please.
Yeah.
stop it.
Next 10 days.
You're
I'm telling
teasing millions who want that list.
Day number 1, Kash Patel walks in. By the end of the day, it will be released.
Oh, please.
Did Kash Patel get confirmed yet?
Not yet. They
Not
delayed
yet.
it.
And did RFK get confirmed yet?
Not yet.
Tulsi?
None of them, though.
House, not Senate. Yeah.
So as soon as he's confirmed, his first day, it will be released.
Oh, I can't wait.
Tulsi and Cash made it out of committee, and they.
I wonder what Chelsea, if Chelsea Clinton's going to tweet that day about the lies and the
100% of the whole thing he will release?
He will release it.
Do you know what will happen if he releases 100%?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Oh, my God.
That would be
10 days, Glenn? Guys, hold Glenn accountable. I want you to go
With
on
the one
Twitter.
caveat.
What's that?
He has to be confirmed.
Okay.
If he's confirmed.
What's Glenn Beck's handle on Twitter, on X? Rob, what's your handle? Is it Glenn?
Glenn
just
Beck.
Glenn, at Glenn Beck? GLENN Beck. Glenn Beck said it. In 10 days, Epstein's list will be released.
Wow.
Go tweet. Hold this man accountable. Make sure we get it. And Rob just followed you right now. Rob,
There it was, Rob.
you got one follow right there. That is great.
Glenn, are you related to the famous singer Beck by any chance?
No, but he's related to me.
There it is. There it is.
No, we're not related.
Do you know any of his?
That was
Yeah,
so
he
would have
quick.
been.
no,
he would
he's
have been a better performer than
That
Kendrick
was
Lamar.
so
Remember his
quick.
music?
Yeah, he was.
Anyways,
Loser,
gang,
baby.
great podcast. I think, Rob, I don't know if we've covered this many stories this quick in the last few
what happens
podcasts.
when
This
you got
was
Glenn Beck here.
fast, to the point, quick, loved it, not long-winded, not like I'm taking shots at anybody. But guys, Valentine's Day is away, few days from today. Go to vtmerch.com, place your order. This is on you, fellas, because, sometimes we're not good with it. We forget. They get it for us, but we forget to get it for them. Get her a pink Future Looks Bright hat. You got two options. Get her the red Future Looks Bright sweater. Rob, go a little lower to see what other items we got here. Pick and choose. Go to vtmerch.com. Rob, put this
Look at the pink
link
camo
below
hat.
as well.
Pink
Tom's
camo
wife
hat's great.
actually wears these things all the
I saw
time.
Tom wearing that one.
I'm getting my wife that.
There you go. We'll give you one. So Future Looks Bright.
No, don't
VT
say that
merch.
out loud. Then
Yeah.
she's like, "You just got it. They just gave it to you."
She's not gonna
No,
be
honey,
watching.
I
She's
worked
listening.
really
We're gonna
hard
charge
to
you double,
fight
man.
for
We're gonna
that.
charge you double.
The
We're
last
double.
one.
Gang, have a great day. We will do this again Thursday. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
God bless.